Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do that. Thanks. By the way, I also have another Naruto and Luffy fanfiction channel. If you are interested, link is in the description.
New Seas Ahead by Peacelight24. Nakama means you never have to say goodbye or be alone, in which Monkey D. Lucy, future Pirate King, and Roronoa Zoro, future world's greatest swordsman, are dumb and everyone else is long-suffering. Or, things with them are always do or die, and love is just the same. Nakama ship, pining, Zorox Femme Lucy. Adios.
Oh come on. Please? Nope. Only Zoro. I want to know www. Zoro can tell you if he wants. I'm not spilling. Zoro. Not a chance. Lucy giggles, leaping up on the Sunny's railing gracefully, and Zoro eyes her carefully, ready to pull her back if she loses her footing. The New World waters are dangerous in a way Paradise wasn't, and retrieving her from the ocean is more of a pain than it used to be. I want to know what Lucy's tattoo is going to be too. Chopper interjects, innocent and unknowing. Lucy looks like she genuinely regrets having to deny Chopper, unlike her glee over teasing Usopp. She rocks a little on the rail, and Zoro sighs, removing his katana from his himaki preemptively. Sorry buddy. Only Zoro gets to know. I don't have to see it, Usopp begs, I just want to know. Don't go asking ladies about personal business. Ow, don't kick me, you jerk, I was just, stop asking Lucy-san about her posterior. There were, occasionally, times when the cook did useful shit. Not often, and generally not enough to overshadow all the annoying bits, but every once in a blue moon the cook came through. Just now was one of those times. Lucy hops down from the rail, running over to chat with Frankie as he tinkers with something for the engine. Zoro leans against the main mast, letting his eyes slide shut. It's a nice day out, for once. Weather in the New World, at least on the sea itself, is truly insane. They've dealt with flaming seas and cyclones that do loop-de-loops, and sea kings the size of the Red Line, and lightning rain, among other things. According to Nami, they've entered a low-pressure zone created by two nearby islands with opposite seasons. It's only calm for now, she insisted when asked. Tonight there'll be a hurricane. Zoro is pretty sure that Nami would try and sail straight for one of those islands if it wasn't for that. 1 week in the New World, and they've barely had time to eat, let alone sleep properly, and whatever island they're tracking, it doesn't have many neighbors. They're all pretty out of it, with the exception of maybe Lucy, but even she's less boisterous than usual. A finger pokes his cheek, right where his scar tapers off. He cracks his eye open, glaring at the offender. Lucy is before him, leaning over with a grin on her face, completely unrepentant. Are you gonna take a nap? She asks, head canting to the side and dark hair falls forward, even more disheveled than usual by the play of wind and seawater. It's a little sun-bleached, actually. Her hair has reddish tints in it now, especially the ends unprotected by her hat. Yep, he answers. He has to work at it to keep memories of tangling his fingers in the dark strands at bay, or to avoid recalling the breathy sounds she makes when he pulls just right. Napping. He's supposed to be napping. You're getting sunburned, Lucy tells him, and fingers sticky with grape juice skip across his cheekbones and nose. Zoro gives her a look that's meant to be exasperated and annoyed, but judging by the giggle and her fond grin, probably just comes off sappy and affectionate. Lucy seems to be interpreting it that way, at any rate. She touches him all the time now. He hasn't stopped feeling ridiculously happy about it. Stupid warm and fuzzy feelings and shit. He can't quite regret them when Lucy looks at him like that, though. Lucci, Nami whines, waving the triplicate log pose at the captain. Can't we go anywhere else, please? Lucy turns to face Nami, and she's got her annoyed, petulant, I am actually a 5-year-old face on. No, the exciting one, she insists. Give it up, Nami, Usopp says, resigned. Lucy's only gotten more stubborn. And more inclined to throw us headlong into danger. Nami grumbles, but she's obviously resigned herself to fate, and sets about adjusting their heading, complaining about their lack of a helmsman. We have a helmsman, Lucy chirps, straightening and twisting to face the rest of the crew. It's Jimbei. I think Nami is simply requesting assistance. Robin tells Lucy with a small smile, and a flick of her wrist sees a pair of hands blooming at the helm, so Nami can properly navigate. Usopp, Chopper cries, excited over something in the water. Usopp, let's go fishing. Their sniper looks up, adjusting his goggles. Okay. Me too. Lucy cheers, and without warning she turns back to Zoro and smashes her lips to his, rough and urgent. Zoro grunts in surprise, trying to react even as she pulls away. He blinks at her, shocked for a second too long as she giggles and slams her hat on his head, then dances away before he can reach out and drag her back. He sighs and then tips the hat down low so no one can see the stupid grin on his face. He leans back against the mast, folding his hands behind his head, and even though he kind of wishes he was holding Lucy right now, he can't help but radiate a little smugness as he settles in for his nap. He still isn't sure he believes how good his life is right now, but he can smell Lucy in the dusty, worn straw and thinks maybe he might be starting to. Brook notices him relaxing, and strikes up a lullaby that won't get the others too excited. Zoro hums in appreciation. They're all exhausted, and sleep has been hard to come by with the volatile weather and endless, furious challenges from the sea. Zoro loves a good fight more than most, but he likes sleep, too. It's nice out today, though, full of sunshine and calm waters. Even the wind is the warm sort that feels soft against one's skin, sweeping through his clothes. Lucy giggles on his right, and Usopp yells at her for tangling the lines while Chopper hums uneasily, distressed at their squabbling. The cook is making lunch in his kitchen and Frankie is below deck in the storage room, working on the renovation he won't tell anybody about. Brook's playing gets slower and softer with every measure, and he hums a harmony alongside the melody, soft and quiet, and Zoro feels content. It's a good feeling. One he hopes will last, and one that sets his dreams at ease, fills them up with light and laughter. As the sun begins to descend from its zenith, Lucy finds herself looking for something to do. Most of her nakama are either busy, or taking a little time to rest and relax. Nami and Sanji are the only ones actively working, with the redhead plotting a course through an upcoming reef and her cook preparing for dinner. The new world has been challenging, thrilling, so far, and Lucy knows most of the crew is pretty well exhausted. Would have to be, considering the level of sleep deprivation. Quickly, nearly instinctively, Lucy checks the whereabouts of her nakama. Zoro is the only one napping, leaning against the main mast, where he can watch most of the crew. He's still got her hat, and she can see the cord trailing around his neck so the wind doesn't pull it away. Brook is keeping Chopper company as the very diligent little reindeer fishes, still trying to catch something Sanji can serve even in this barren stretch of sea. Usopp gave up on that half an hour ago, and is now tinkering in his workshop below deck. Frankie is running extraneous maintenance checks down there, too. Before her, Robin reclines on the deck with a book in her hand. There's a tray with iced tea nearby, and she has sunglasses over her eyes. Between Robin and the others, it's a sight and atmosphere so familiar it hurts, but it's the first time Lucy has seen it in 2 years. Robin gives her a smile as Lucy walks toward her. Lucy still isn't quite used to the new haircut, but she likes it. It makes her look much more open. Like she's not hiding anymore. Not so wary or edgy. Lucy thinks Robin might have been really girly, had life happened differently for her. "What you reading?" Lucy asks. The title is half hidden behind Robin's hand, and in a font that makes it hard to read. Robin holds up the cover for Lucy's inspection. It's a collection of stories. They're considered by most to be fictional, but some scholars believe them to be first-hand accounts of individuals living in a now White cocks her head to the side. "What do you think, Robin?" The woman's grin turns sly. "I think that I've never read anything quite like these stories before." She slips her sunglasses back to rest on the crown of her head. "I do think, however, I've lived something quite similar." Lucy looks at the book curiously. "Really?" Robin looks close to laughing, like she's enjoying some private joke. It's quite thrilling to read." Lucy plops herself down on the edge of the chaise and grins. "Teach me?" The look on Robin's face melts to something tender and fond. Of course, Sencho. It takes some doing, but eventually they settle the book between them. Lucy frowns down at the page, and she knows she's going to need lots of help from Robin just looking at the text. It's a fine print with lots of big words Lucy's pretty sure she's never even heard before. But that's fine. That's what Robin does, after all. She explains the things the rest of them could never understand. There was once a child, Robin begins. One known to both the sky and sea. Her name was Orla, of the family of. Lucy squints at the page. I can't read it, it's smudged. It's an old book, Robin says sedately. These things happen when they don't have proper care. Lucy grins at her archaeologist. Good thing you have it now, Robin. Robin looks amused. Indeed, and the next sentence? The child, whose name means first to step, was strong-willed and committed to the sea, for she knew her dreams would be reckoned? Reckoned, Robin supplies patiently. For she knew her dreams would be reckoned upon the waves. Lucy scrunches her nose. What does that mean? Most everyone dreams of going out to sea. Even the schmucks who don't want to be pirates. It's not like it's unusual or anything. Robin muses. I think it means she had a dream that could only be completed by sailing across the sea. Robin smiles a little more mischievously. Perhaps she had her own One Piece. Lucy frowns at the book. I don't want to read it if it's going to tell me that. Robin laughs softly. I don't think that will be the case. Lucy gives the book one last skeptical look before deciding to trust Robin. If anyone knew, she did, after all. All right. So one day, when Orla had come of age, she took to the sea alone, in search of dreams. Zoro watches in horror as Lucy slips off a scaffold merrily, unwilling to save herself. He reaches for her and shouts, screaming, Lucy, no. Zoro wakes and sees the planked ceiling of the boys' quarters in the sunny. He releases a quiet, slow breath and mentally catalogs his nakama's whereabouts. All the guys are here in their quarters. Sanji is awake too, probably disturbed by his unconscious spike of haki, and the cook at least doesn't embarrass the both of them by acknowledging he woke up, or that he noticed, or that he was obviously keeping track of the crew via observation haki just like Zoro. The girls sleep above them, and Zoro can hear Robin and Nami's voices humming at a low frequency, meaning they're still asleep. Lucy is not in her room. There's a brief flash of something close to panic, and then he realizes she's on Sunny's figurehead, awake and probably keeping watch, and he relaxes, holding back a sigh. Well, it's not like he'll be going back to sleep anytime soon. Zoro hops out of bed, his suspended hammock creaking softly as he does. Chopper, sleeping beneath him, turns over in his sleep but doesn't wake, and Zoro leaves quietly, shutting the door behind him and leaving his nakama to rest. It's still nice outside, the sea nearly motionless in a way it rarely is this far from land. The night sky is clear except for the horizon behind them, where the very edges of the hurricane Nami promised earlier rages. Actually, now that he thinks about it, the ocean should be nowhere near as calm as it is this close to the hurricane. Whatever, the Grand Line is weird. He's seen stranger things. He climbs up to the helm's deck, and then clomps up the stairs to the figurehead, making sure he doesn't surprise her if she somehow missed his arrival. She doesn't say anything, but he does sense the little spike in her attention through observation haki. In one easy motion he grips one of Sunny's spikes and vaults over it, landing on the other side as softly as he can. Lucy blinks up at him and grins, and for a moment he just takes her in. The moonlight makes her tan skin look alabaster pale, and her sun-bleached hair like ink. Her eyes glitter, reflecting starlight off the water, and her smile is bold and warm. She's wearing night clothes, a t-shirt bearing her midriff and cotton shorts, and she looks beautiful. She scoots over, patting the space next to her and looking up expectantly. Zoro complies, and Lucy immediately crawls into his lap, settling between his legs with her back against his chest and the hat half squished between them. Zoro wraps his arms around her waist, and she sighs in a contented sort of way that makes him feel pathetically warm inside. Only Lucy does this kind of thing to him. Her and literally no one else. It'd be frustrating if he hadn't long ago accepted it. What are you doing up? She asks, voice low and quiet. There's something about the stars and the sea and the distant storm that makes it seem like breaking the peace is taboo. Couldn't sleep, he tells her, equally quiet. There's no reason to inform her of his nightmare. He's been having similar ones for almost 2 years now, of Lucy dying at Marineford or in any number of scenarios his paranoid subconscious cooks up. If he was still at Kuraigana, he'd get up and do some training before breakfast, try and wear the anxiety and frustration out through his muscles. Here he can touch her, which is infinitely more reassuring. I thought Usopp had watch tonight. I couldn't sleep either, she admits. I told him to go to bed since I was going to be up anyway. Zoro supposes Lucy has probably gotten used to nightmares too. He doesn't ask about it, trusts she'll tell him if she wants to, if he can help. Between the two of them, she's definitely better at opening up her vulnerabilities on a regular basis, so he's sure she'd tell him if it would help. Instead he just leans down to plant a kiss at her temple, and lets a comfortable silence bloom between them as she laces her hands in his over her stomach. It's nice, just holding her like this. They haven't had a lot of free time since entering the new world, and certainly not a lot of time to themselves. It gives him an opportunity to study her, watch the expression on her face as she watches the sea. It's not quite her thinking face, the one she used to get when staring out at sea. This version is a touch more solemn. Not quite melancholy, but it's something with similar weight. There's less childishness in her aura. He's noticed the changes a little more, now that they've been together longer and the novelty of their reunion and their relationship has worn off a bit. Lucy is absolutely still Lucy. Laughing her head off every few seconds and being generally too loud and getting into everything and anything to satiate her endless energy and eating way more than should be physically possible. But there are little changes he's noticed, little shifts in how she behaves that betray the trauma she's endured. She sometimes grips his hand too tight, or tighter than seems necessary, at any rate. He hasn't figured out what sets her off, what triggers the need for reassurance, but he does his best to provide it. Occasionally she'll look around the ship with a glint of protective determination in her eyes so great it borders on wrath. Like she's just waiting for someone or something to come along and try to hurt one of her nakama. Like she almost wants something to happen just so she can prove nothing stands a chance against her. Zoro might be projecting a little, but he's pretty sure it's true. He and Lucy are pretty similar that way. There are other things, too, like the way she avoids being alone if she can help it, the way she sometimes pressed her of her scar, a faraway look in her eyes, or how she just looks older. It speaks of trauma, and pain he wasn't there to bear with her. He's pretty sure he'll never forgive himself for that. Thanks to Mihawk and that stupid paper the revolutionaries distributed, he has an idea of what she went through in the war, at least broadly. The rest of their missing time is almost blank. Even though he wants to, it's not something he's going to ask about. He already knows more than he should, and he doesn't really have the heart to ask about it right this second. He's a little less confident that she'll share the details about that one though, and it makes him uncertain. "You're staring," she mumbles, and there's a smirk on her lips. Zoro doesn't bother denying it. He ducks down, grazing her left cheekbone with his lips, right over the scar under her eye. She gives a small shiver, probably not related to the cool breeze, and tilts her chin back at an awkward angle, searching. Zoro eagerly obliges her, and he turns more to catch her mouth with his, a warm, tingly feeling radiating from the contact as they meet. Lucy matches him easily, massaging his lips with hers, though maybe not quite as gentle or precise in her movements. Zoro smirks into the kiss a little, thinking about the first few times they did this, and how Lucy made up for inexperience with enthusiasm and a complete lack of embarrassment regarding what she wanted and what felt good. Quick learner though, he thinks, as his captain suddenly switches from slow and gentle to heated and determined as she sucks his lip between hers, grazing sharply with her teeth, and then Zoro is gone as he's completely lost in the act of kissing his captain. She feels perfect, like this. It feels like she belongs right here, in the circle of his arms, their fingers twined and Lucy straining for a better angle. The little encouraging noises she makes only spur him on, make him think she feels it too, that she wants to get closer, as close as possible. She smells like the ocean, like sunlight itself, like her hair and skin soaked up the very essence of life on the sea, and if there was room here he'd lay her out beneath him. See if he could get her to make those same breathless noises he did when he worried her pulse point that one time. His hands move over her stomach a little, and the feel of her soft skin under his fingers drives him a little crazy, makes his head feel fuzzier, makes him kiss her a little harder than he really meant to until she gasps under his mouth. Their positions give him the advantage as he swipes his tongue against hers. Lucy leans into him, pressing her shoulder blade into his chest, and the new angle gives her better access. She pushes into his mouth, aggressive and demanding, and that's about when Zoro's head explodes into white noise. Nothing Zoro's ever done feels like kissing Lucy does. Not even kissing other people, which he's done before, and it never felt quite like this. There's too much in his head, too much energy buzzing under his skin, and everywhere they share contact feels like fire. There's this never-ending greed inside him demanding more, 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 and he's not sure what he could ever do to satisfy it, kind of hopes it never will be. Holding Lucy like this feels like the closing of a circle, the connecting of a circuit. Eventually, however, his neck begins to protest the odd angle, and he's not so sure Lucy's actually breathing, so he slows down, trying to express his reluctance, and pulls back. He loves watching Lucy's face right after they've kissed. She always takes a second or two to surface properly, her mouth still pursed slightly and her expression open and vulnerable as she blinks back to reality, right before her lips twist in a pout. Something very masculine in Zoro is proud of that expression, and the fact that he put it there. It makes him smirk, and he tightens his hold on her, pulling her flush against him, possessive and jealous, wrapping around her as best he can. There are times when he thinks he wants to hide Lucy behind his ribcage, a magpie-like desire to keep her all to himself and protect her so well she never has to lift a finger in her own defense again. Not that he wants to stop her from fighting. Just, he likes the idea of Lucy only ever doing it on her own terms because he's managed to make sure no threat can touch her. He knows Lucy can protect herself. He knows she's stronger than him. He still wants to protect her though. Always. And he made sure he's strong enough to do it, too. Lucy, for her part, seems content enough to simply cuddle. She gives a soft hum, resting her head on his shoulder and running gentle fingers over his forearms. They have conversations like this, sometimes. Wordless ones communicated entirely through touch. He touches her every chance he gets. He thinks maybe he's making up for lost time. It's not like Lucy's any better, so maybe she is too. At the thought he turns to graze his lips along the column of her throat, tempted to leave a mark there. Half the crew freaked out last time though, when they finally noticed. They had to explain what a hickey is to Chopper, which was just plain uncomfortable for everyone, especially when he started asking Robin really clinical questions about human sexual practices. Curly Brow's reaction was hilarious though. And every time Zoro looked at Lucy he remembered how she felt in his arms, breathing heavy in his ear, and he'd feel smug. And sometimes when he'd catch her looking she'd dart her eyes to the long scratches she carved with her nails over his left shoulder, and he just knew she was thinking of the same moment. Lucy lets out a soft sigh, sleepy and content, and Zoro decides she maybe needs the rest, considering how sleep-deprived they've been. He plants his chin on her shoulder instead, curling around her as his hands stroke her waist, and pulls her back so she's leaning against his torso, happily acting as a mattress. Lucy hums, sounding amused, and relaxes over him like her bones have turned to jelly. He hitches her a little closer, his arms crossing over her waist, and he makes a contented sound low in his chest that's nearly involuntary. He's just happy. Just happy. It's kind of weird. Nami says we'll get to the island tomorrow evening. Lucy mumbles. What do you think we'll find? Zoro shrugs his left shoulder, the one Lucy isn't leaning against. I dunno. That's half the point of going, isn't it? Lucy gives a soft laugh and she twists a little in his grip to burrow deeper into his chest. Hey. Knew there's a reason I love you. Zoro's breath catches. He hasn't grown used to this, hasn't been able to take it as natural yet. He still has a moment of shock and disbelief every time she says it, has to force it aside. He still hasn't been able to say it back yet, he's not sure he ever will. Lucy smiles though, unbothered, and settles just a little bit deeper into him. He releases a breath slowly, kissing her shoulder again. Go to sleep, he tells her. I'll keep watch. Lucy makes a noise that sounds a lot like a purr. You're the best. Zoro rolls his eye. Had a nightmare about you, Lucy whispers, and he tenses. You died the same way Ace did. Zoro releases his breath slowly. I'm fine, so are you. He squeezes her hand once, brings her scarred palm to his lips. You're alive. I am too. You're not in Marineford anymore. You never have to go there again. Lucy's breath hitches softly, and she turns just enough to kiss the underside of his jaw. I know. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I am too. Her breathing evens out a few seconds later as she drops off to sleep, and Zoro takes a deep breath, relishing the moment until the horizon turns pale pink and the sun peeks over the horizon. Lucy, are you sure? Nami asks warily. Lucy looks away from the burning island, glowing under stormy skies, and glances at her navigator quizzically. Huh? It's on fire, Usopp squeaks. It's on fire. Of course it is. It looks fun, doesn't it? Lucy asks eagerly. Nami scowls. Are you forgetting the mysterious call we had just now? The one where a guy got straight up murdered? Lucy shakes her head, denying it. Yeah, that's why we gotta go. We'd have to even if the island was boring. Zoro snorts behind her, and Frankie chuckles. You may as well give up, Nami-san. Sanji sighs around his cigarette. Lucy-san seems quite determined. I'm sure the island is quite interesting, Robin says curiously. Lucy beams at her. I'm not sure how well bones mix with flames, Brooke mutters uncertainly. Or fur, Chopper grumbles. It looks fun, doesn't it? Lucy asks again, giggling. There's a collective groan around her. Lucy beams in the face of it. Let me go make a pirate lunchbox. Sanji capitulates reluctantly. Lucy almost tears up in gratitude. It's been years since she had a pirate lunchbox. She misses Sanji's bentos. Yeah, off with you shit cook, Zoro goads. Sanji scowls at him. At least I can provide for the ladies, shit swordsman, he calls before disappearing into the galley. Lucy pats Zoro on the shoulder, Zoro has nice shoulders, and gives him a sympathetic look. I can't provide for anyone either. That's why we have Sanji. Zoro gives her an exasperated look, but seems unbothered, otherwise. Whatever. Everyone draw straws, Zoro orders dryly, digging out a handful of straws from his robes. Lucy frowns. I want to go though, Nami rolls her eyes. We know. This is for the rest of us. She draws one of the straws, and gives a sigh of relief when it has no red marker. Oh, it's me, Robin says neutrally, she looks dully pleased. And me, Zoro asserts. Lucy grins, because this is going to be so much fun. Zoro likes taking the same sort of challenges and risks that she does, and Robin is always happy to go along with their antics. Lucy turns to Usopp, who's tearing up a little with a red straw in his hand. I'm not afraid, he declares, shaking a bit. Lucy grins, and thumps him on the back. Usopp is so brave. We're going to have so much fun. Yay, Usopp groans. It kind of sounds like a whine, but it makes Lucy giggle anyway, and the island burns invitingly before them. In retrospect, Zoro probably should have thought through the fact that walking through a burning island would involve shedding a few articles of clothing. For him and Usopp it's not much of an issue. He just slips out of his robe and lets the top half hang over his hamarki, careful to retain easy access to his katana. Usopp wasn't wearing a shirt in the first place, but he does tie his hair up off his neck. For the girls it's a bit more difficult. Robin is wearing a dress, and somehow manages to look unaffected even as she starts sweating bullets. Lucy removes her jacket, ties it over her hat, and sweats just as much as the rest of them in her black leather and denim and fishnets and shit. Zoro can't stop staring. 2 years of training paid off. It's more obvious like this, with the glisten of sweat highlighting every curve, every vein, every flex of lean muscle. The scar on her chest is more visible without the jacket, the lacing of her band tied so that the shiny red skin over her sternum is easily visible, the contours of her scar clear as sweat drips down behind the leather. The line of her abs disappears under her shorts. He's supposed to focus under these conditions. Unfair, completely, totally unfair. His only consolation is that Lucy seems to be having similar problems regarding him. Sometimes he catches her eyes and there's something molten and wanting there, and then he's glad he can blame his flush on the environment. They haven't slept together yet. Chopper served them both a very long lecture on the importance of using 2 methods of birth control and the 2 weeks it will require for the injection he sicked on Lucy to take effect. Also, they're both pretty inexperienced when it comes to sex. Lucy wasn't Zoro's first kiss, but he was hers, and Zoro's few and infrequent sexual encounters have been, fine, at best. He has a feeling that with Lucy it would be different, especially when she looks like that and looks at him like that. They haven't really talked about it. The timing has been poor since arriving in the new world, and things have been hectic at best. Any alone time they've had has been brief, or they've been exhausted, and frankly they're both still getting to know each other again. Zoro doesn't think it'll be long before it comes up, though, considering how blatantly she's checking him out. He's probably just as obvious. They should probably talk about this soon. And okay, maybe thoughts of this are still lingering in his head when they run into the dragon, and maybe he wants to show off a bit. Maybe he wants to show her some of what he's learned in the past 2 years, and see what she's brought to the table as well. If he does, and if he takes a smug sort of pride in the hungry way she eyes him while he cooks the dragon, well, he's not exactly complaining. Falling into the icy water, Lucy experiences a second of pure panic. It's been a long time since she's fallen into water unintentionally while conscious. She had to be more careful than that on Ruskina, since Rayleigh refused to fish her out. Full submersion is terrifying. She's paralyzed by the curse of the devil fruits, and too shocked by the cold to even preserve her air. Then a large hand curls around her hip, and she's pulled up into the broad expanse of bronze skin and muscle. The forearm across the small of her back pressing her stomach to his. And through half-lidded eyes she sees heavy knuckles snatch her hat back from the black depths of the lake. Oh, she remembers, feeling silly. Zoro. If she wasn't already limp from the effects of water, she would probably melt into him, boneless and comforted. If Zoro's here, she's safe. And he's warm. So warm. If she could move she'd wrap around him a few times, burrow into his heat like she was made to be there. He kicks furiously for the surface. Lucy starts to fall back and away from him as he does, water dragging her away from his chest, but then the hand holding the hat comes up to cradle her to his shoulder. Safe, she thinks, dizzy from the lack of oxygen and disoriented from the water. Zoro means safe. She knows that. She's always known that. For some reason though, it's this moment, ears popping from water pressure with her swordsman easily dragging both of them to the surface and thoughtful enough to bring her hat along too, that makes her kind of want to tear up, just a bit. Everything since they've met up again has happened so fast that she's hardly had time to adjust to having the crew again, or having Zoro within arm's reach. She spent 6 months alone on Ruskina before meeting up with her nakama in Sabaody, and that was only a week and a half ago. Her instincts haven't readjusted yet. They break the surface, and she hears Usopp and Robin splashing nearby. She's shaking so hard from the cold she almost can't see anything, and Zoro doesn't seem much better off. Lucy grins at him anyway, as wide as she can. "My hero," she coos, delighted. Zoro rolls his eye, his teeth chattering. Need to ge it out. Lucy and Robin are no use in this task, so Lucy just presses her face into Zoro's neck, trying to warm him and show her appreciation at the same time as he swims, one of his hands still clutching her clothes. The panicked tension in her chest eases as her instincts accept her safety, despite the circumstances. Zoro may have thought she was joking, about him being her hero. She wasn't really. Zoro's one of the best people she knows. And the strongest. And he only proves it every time he deftly assuages all of Lucy's fears with the grace of a bull, whether he knows it or not. But seriously, this water is Holy Mother of God cold. If. Lucy says quietly, eyes locked on the Shichibukai. Zoro's already mentally tagged him with Lucy's nickname for him, mostly because it seems to annoy him, and Zoro finds his frustration at Lucy's irrepressibility entertaining. "You said thank you. Not much you can do if he doesn't want anything." He leans back against the icy cave wall, both hands behind his head. He figures he may as well take a nap while he can. With proper gear the cold is comfortable enough. Lucy takes a sip from her hot cider, somehow provided by the cook. He was apparently concerned enough about the girl's health to make some even while freaking out about being in Nami's body. For once the stupid perv's concerns were spot on, Lucy stopped shivering for the first time since falling in the lake. Across the cave, Chopper in the cook's body speaks quietly with Trafalgar, probably regarding the children Nami forced the rest of them to rescue. Well, forced is probably a strong word. There's not a single Straw Hat that would have felt okay with leaving them behind, even if they don't really have the means to do much for him. Nami just put her foot down. It does raise the question though, as to what kind of doctor could go along with an operation that put those same kids at risk. He doesn't seem too concerned even now, really, not that it matters much so long as he doesn't work against them from here on. It's a bit bewildering, but not really an issue Zoro particularly cares about. Trafalgar seems like a complicated sort of person, and Zoro isn't paid for his people skills. That's more Lucy's job, and she seems to like the guy well enough. "He's a good guy," Lucy says after a moment, like she's reading his mind. He raises an eyebrow at her, taking in the thoughtful expression on her face. She shivers and presses into his side, clutching the cider with her left hand and rubbing her chest absently with her right. Zoro doesn't comment. He's noticed she seems more sensitive to cold than she used to be. It's odd. Everyone is so similar to how he remembers them, enough that they all slotted into their old patterns instantly, but there are little changes that keep throwing him. Like Lucy suddenly hating colder temperatures, or Robin smiling more often than she used to. He shifts a little, making more space for Lucy. She takes advantage of it immediately, making a small happy noise that sets off a fond glow deep in his chest. Zoro returns his gaze to Trafalgar. He owes the guy for Lucy's life. She thanked him already, but he's still curious as to why he saved her, especially now that he knows the two of them didn't meet up again after Sabaody. I'm gonna be his friend, Lucy declares blithely, heedless to the object of her friendship's wishes as usual. Zoro snorts. If you aren't already, you're losing your touch. I have a plan to take down one of the Yonko. The grin on Torao's face is wicked and violent, but it doesn't scare Lucy. Doesn't even daunt her. Torao just doesn't scare her. Maybe because it's hard to fear someone who fought for her life, maybe because her uncanny ability to read the character of others, as Rayleigh put it, is telling her Torao isn't so bad. He wants her to ally with him. He must be desperate if he's asking a near stranger. Lucy doesn't mind helping him, especially since he turned away her thanks when she gave it. He's not lording anything over her, just offering. It's a good start to a friendship, and then there's the prize he's so giddy over. The takedown of a Yonko. Another person at the top, one Lucy has to fight. This is a guy as powerful as the old man Ace was so fond of, the kind of person capable of wrecking islands on a whim. It sounds like fun. It sounds like a challenge. But she's got to be careful about this. Shanks is a Yonko. She can't approach him untested. Which one? Lucy asks. Kaido, Torao responds bluntly. I have a plan, but it has a pretty low chance of success. Well that's fine then. Torao cocks an eyebrow, and it disappears under his fuzzy hat. You're in. Lucy considers it for a second more. This really wasn't the plan most of her crew had in mind. Mostly they were just going to wander around the new world the same way they did Paradise, going from island to island until they found what they were looking for and having adventures along the way. This plan is much more aggressive. Intentional. It tries to control the whims of fate instead of ride them. But it's not a bad idea either, and after everything, Lucy would much rather be proactive than reactive this time around. Plus, she can't shake the feeling that Torao needs her. Bad. There's something about this that's dark and personal and a howl against her senses when she uses observation hockey. Regardless of what he said earlier, Lucy does owe Torao. And she'd like to be friends with him anyway. Yeah, I'm in, she says with a grin. Torao looks blandly impassive. Nami in Frankie's body groans. You idiot. Lucy just sends her a grin. It's fine, you'll see. Look, all I'm saying is, the captain may be strong and independent, but she's still a woman, and as such it is your responsibility as her woefully inadequate paramour to. Would you shut up already? Zoro growls, stomping through the snow. It's the kind with the thin crust of ice and soft stuff underneath. It's annoying, and it isn't improving his mood for this conversation. I don't need your advice, pervert. And stop staring at Nami's. You're going to trip, and then she'll find me when her hands get all cut up from the ice. It's taking a lot of Zoro's self-restraint to refrain from hitting the cook in Nami's body, but he does it because Nami would probably whip out a signed contract of indentured servitude if he actually damaged something. Obviously not, since it took you this long to get together in the first place. You suck at wooing. I do not, Zoro growls, affronted. He tries to think of an example of a time where he wooed. He fails. Shut up. Sanji gives him a look that clearly states his skepticism. It's eerily effective on Nami's face. Now I may admit that my previous attempt was misguided, if well-intentioned. Zoro feels himself twitch with remembered fury. You described in excruciating detail which positions we should use with adjustments for Lucy's size and body type. He wrote that stupid note like a goddamn itinerary. And I admit that was, in hindsight, a smidge too involved. I had concerns about a delicate flower like Lucy San and a brute like you, and sought to improve her experiences specifically. Zoro stares, deadpan. Lucy, delicate. Lucy-san is a gorgeous woman who deserves only the best, Sanji declares, and that look on Nami's face is just bizarre. He feels vaguely uncomfortable witnessing it. When I joined the crew, I swore to protect her, provide for her, assure her happiness. You knew her for like a day at that point. All women are worthy of my attention and care. Get a life, shit cook. I'm sure Zoro-san is perfectly capable of adequately romancing our captain, Sanji-san. Brook mediates sedately. And Sanji-san, like the rest of us, has more than enough reason to worry over Lucy-san's welfare. She does seem to injure herself quite a lot. Zoro huffs, not really able to argue that point. Not like he'd ever claim his nakama shouldn't worry over Lucy anyway. That would be just fucking stupid. She's strong, he defends. Then, because the cook's annoying, and I would only take your advice if I wanted to scare her off. What was that, asshole? I for one don't understand how 3 strong warriors like yourselves could stand to submit to a woman's authority, especially her suitor. Zoro trains a glare on the samurai, and feels Sanji does the same. Nobody asked you. Lucy-san is strong and worthy of respect. Her beauty is only rivaled by Nami-san and Robin-chan. Kinemon gives Sanji a skeptical look, like he can't quite believe the level of idiocy spewing from the cook's mouth. Zoro can sympathize. You know you're using the wrong honorifics, right? Sanji juries an awkward beat where everyone stares at each other. I'm told wooing is an important aspect of any romance, Kinemon says after a moment. Zoro groans. See, it's not just me. That guy convinced a girl to have a kid with him. Yes, I have reproduced. Sanji's face grows vaguely reverent at the idea, and Zoro gives him a disgusted look. Fuck off, both of you, Zoro growls, stomping off into the snow. You must have at least one idea for a date, Sanji goads. Zoro rolls his eyes. The vast majority of our lives are spent running around beating people up. At what point do you think we have time to go on a date? We have downtime, Sanji counters. And as Lucy-san's cook, I feel it is my duty to ensure her happiness and satisfaction, which now includes the health of her relationship with you. Zoro glowers. It's none of your business, shit cook. The ship's not that big, shit swordsman. Zoro rolls his eyes again, and instinctively checks on Lucy and the others back at the cave using observation haki. She seems like she's contemplating something pretty serious, something important, if the tension in her voice is anything to go by. He wonders what changed since they left. She doesn't seem panicked or in danger or anything, and even if she was, she probably wouldn't need his help. Wooing. PFF'd. He can woo. Zoro can totally woo. He just hasn't had a lot of opportunities to do so. Most of their lives are spent on the ship. When they do make landfall, it's usually a fight for their lives for a few hours or days, and then recovery, and then usually a mad scramble off the island. He supposes they could have gone on a date on Fishman Island, but they hadn't actually figured anything out by then. He wonders if Lucy even wants to be wooed, and if so, how he should go about it. Then he hates himself a little for wondering. Can't be giving the shit cook any credit. Like I'd ever take advice from a guy that wore a dress. Sanji's face turns beet red. I told you, that never happened. Kinemon splutters. A man should not adorn a woman's attire. Oh fuck you, I didn't know samurai were bigots. Are you sure you reproduced? Occasionally, the cook was on the same page as him. Zoro just wishes he'd stop commenting on his love life. It's funny, but the new world seems pretty intent on making Lucy watch her nakama. And that's her boyfriend twice in a row now, damn it. Fight for their lives over a den mushi. Ironically, Lucy's the one in the cage this time. Zoro, Sanji, Brook, and some other people sprint for their lives away from the billowing purple cloud. And even through the screen, Lucy's instincts are screaming that they cannot be caught by that. Oh, Sanji-kun is, Robin breathes, and then Lucy realizes what she's talking about. Sanji's not in his own body, where he could just fly away and probably drag the rest with him. He's in Nami's, who's strong, but not the same way Lucy and Zoro and Sanji are. Shit. They might actually be in trouble. Lucy experiments with the idea of unleashing all her conqueror's haki. She knows her friends would be okay, including Torao and Smokey. She's not certain it would really work though. Caesar's a weasel, and pathetic, but he isn't bereft of power. I mean, one-trick pony kind of power, but power nonetheless. The screen winks out just as Zoro looks back over his shoulder at the cloud of gas, his face creased in disbelief and irritation. He's too far away to pick up on his voice in detail, but she would be able to tell if he died. Lucy relaxes. Zoro will be fine. He's strong, he's always been strong. That doesn't mean Lucy's going to take an attack on her nakama lying down though. She yanks against her chains once, and grins. Right, time to stop messing around. What? Caesar beat Lucy? He says it sort of disbelievingly, like he's hearing it underwater. Usopp looks a little apologetic for having delivered the news, and Zoro scowls, gritting his teeth. Then Zoro does something he almost never has before. He walks away from a fight, to go do something more important. Oi, Lucy. Lucy is an idiot. Zoro knows this, and has always known this, and has never really expected any different from her. She gets carried away, occasionally fails to grasp consequences as well as she should, and sometimes that comes back to bite them all in the ass. He's not going to lose her because she was being irreverent. He thought she'd learned a little better. He knows she has. He's seen the scars that lesson has left on her, physical and otherwise. Lucy, get over here. He's searching the railing still, trying to figure out where she went. There's a flash of red a few posts down from him, and her face peeks over the railing, her cheeks raw from cold and wind and her eyes alight with purpose, but adventure too. It makes something clench in his chest, makes him a bit angrier than he already was. She does not get to be so selfish anymore. She risks more than her own line when she risks it all. Zoro expects that much from her, wouldn't follow her if she didn't risk everything for her dream. But he expects her to do it with care, too. Hey, Lucy. Get a grip and take this seriously. This is only the beginning of the new world. We can't afford to be careless. Lucy blinks a few times, obviously surprised, and then she grins, a smile breaking over her face like the sunrise. Sorry, Zoro. I let my guard down, and we haven't even had SX yet. And just like that, his previous frustrations make way for a tidal wave of embarrassment and his face burns. Lucy. Don't worry, I'll win. See you in the tower. Goddammit, this girl is way more trouble than she's worth. But he can't quite hide the amused smirk on his face, and the cook snorts when he sees it. Well, that was a rude way to tell her you were worried, Sanji comments. Zoro glares, still a bit tongue-tied. He probably just needs to get laid, Usopp agrees, giggling. How uncouth, Kinemon sniffs, a woman speaking in such a manner. Shut up, you chauvinistic pig, Nami growls. Nothing gets Nami's temper up like people speaking ill of Lucy. Zoro snorts as Nami puts the samurai in his place, and he watches men in hazmat suits fly unceremoniously off the catwalk Lucy's tearing through. He smirks a little, unbidden. Honestly, only Lucy could reassure people by humiliating them. Snow Harpy is annoying, because she's cutting Lucy off from her real target. But she's also not inconsequential. Snow Harpy makes for a good wall, and Lucy's fists aren't well suited to deal with her. I wonder what it's like, to be a female captain on these seas, Snow Harpy muses quietly. I bet it's exhausting, fending off all the men who want a piece of you. Lucy raises an eyebrow as she punches her way through another layer of this snow dome. I hit people who bug me. Snow Harpy giggles, and when she pops out of the snow wall behind her, Lucy sees the tip of one feathered wing cover the woman's mouth, a surprisingly dainty gesture considering the size of her wings. I'm sure. Possessing enough strength to assure one's own safety is impressive. Thanks, I trained a lot. Lucy can't break through all the layers at once. Just the first two with a strong punch, and the first four if she uses gear second. It closes up immediately though, and Lucy knows this woman is just as determined to keep her here as Lucy is to leave. Snow Harpy's not fighting to win, she's fighting to stall. It's not the type of fight Lucy likes. I prefer being part of a group that protects me, rather than doing the protecting, personally. I do whatever my master tells me to do in exchange. Snow Harpy observes sedately. Lucy growls. I don't have time for someone as pathetic as that. The woman giggles again. Pathetic? How rude. Are you getting cold yet? Yeah, actually, she was. The edges of her scar ache, and the chilled air sweeps across her skin. She probably should have kept the coat from earlier. Just fight already. And then a quiet whisper in her ear, voice smooth and confident, I am. Wings wrap around Lucy before she can react. Her observation haki muffled and hindered by the snow, and her face is pressed into Snow Harpy's shoulder. Lucy tries to move but can't. She can't move. Snow Harpy coos, stroking her hair like a mother might comfort a crying child. What a fighter you are. So strong. In a normal situation I'd never win. But the strongest is not always the one who wins the fight, you see. The world seems still, quiet, and so cold. Lucy can't feel her fingers. Her head feels heavy and her body weak. Just go to sleep now, Snow Harpy croons, just go to sleep, it's quiet. I shouldn't, Lucy thinks fuzzily, I can't fall asleep, I'll die. But it's cold, and the cold hurts as it creeps up her neck and seeps into her skin, leaving nothing but numb, unfeeling ice behind. There's no need to fight now. Just sleep. But that's not right, is it? She always needs to fight. Always, every day, every moment, because that is the life she was born to and the life she chose. That's part of what being a pirate is. Part of being alive. If she's not fighting, she's dead. Lucy can't be dead. She can't die right now. She has people depending on her, people she needs who maybe need her in a similar way. She isn't the Pirate King yet. The cold seeps so deep it starts to feel warm. Her eyes slip closed. Her body, as if made of living ice and stone, slumps forward. Get a grip and take this seriously. We can't afford to be careless. Oh, Zoro. A jumble of memories flit through her head. The first time Zoro fished her out of the ocean. Grumbling but not letting go of her until she was safely back on their little dinghy. The first time she heard him laugh and the last time she did. The moment she realized she liked him, pinned uncomfortably under his sleeping frame. And every gentle touch between them, every time they kissed. His warm breath against her ear as they spoke late into the night. And the ambitions that bind them together so intractably. Zoro. She can't die because Zoro would. Zoro would live. Become the world's greatest swordsman. But he would be so sad. Her eyes snap open. Something hot pools in her gut, travels up her spine and warms her just enough to actually use the conqueror's haki howling in her chest. The Snow Harpy is before her, still cocooning Lucy with her wings. The numbness hasn't faded from Lucy's body. If anything, it's even more powerful. The terrible absence of sensation wakes her more, infuriates her, and she will not be overcome. She moves. Her hand snaps up, wrapping around the harpy's throat as the woman gasps in shock, eyes rolling back in response to the blast of conquerors. Immediately it gets easier to move, and Lucy sucks in a breath, warming half-frozen lungs. She jumps, uses the woman as a counterbalance so harshly that the harpy falls to her knees, gagging, and Lucy breaks a hole in the floor with her feet. It's an escape, which seems shameful in some ways, but Lucy doesn't care about this woman, and she needs to find Caesar as quickly as possible. Her nakama need her. She throws Harpy away from the hole just as Lucy starts to fall. The woman is trembling, sweating bullets in response to the blast of haki, looking utterly unable to move. Protected by others indeed. Lucy thinks, as she falls into a black pit with no bottom to speak of, that she'd never gather a crew so weak as that, and that Snow Harpy's boss is probably a pissant. Zoro lets Robin, Chopper, and Nami through the snow-walled chicken bitch erected, and turns to face his opponent. She touches down on the snowpack before him, wings tucked into her side and a thoughtful look on her face. When she speaks, her voice is light and soft, like the snow. It's incongruous with the deadly gleam in her eye. Are you like your captain, then? One of the protectors? Zoro stares her down, saying nothing. Chicken bitch is not dissuaded. You're the pirate hunter. Roronoa Zoro. 110 million berry. You must be a protector. You're the second most valuable member of your crew. Not like Cat Burglar and Devil Child. Zoro frowns harder. You wanna fight or what? Chicken bitch giggles, and it sounds sort of like ice breaking. You really are like your captain. Straw Hat Lucy called me pathetic when I told her I prefer being protected to doing the protecting. Zoro flicks his wrist, spraying melted water droplets from Shisui's blade onto the snow. Well, she's right. That information does raise a question, though. If Chicken Bitch ran into Lucy and Chicken Bitch still made it here relatively unharmed, then where is Lucy right now? He can feel her using observation haki, can sense her nearby and sense that she's still breathing, but she's also muffled, somehow. Not in an injured sort of way. More distance. But he's pretty sure she's unharmed, if maybe a bit frustrated at the moment. My, chicken bitch hums. Zoro's not exactly sure what she's so happy about. You straw hats are really something, aren't you? I think I'd like you all if you weren't working against my master. Zoro scoffs. Our captain wouldn't have any interest in someone who conscripts herself to another like that. Chicken bitch raises a wing, gleaming like metal under the harsh lights of the nursery. Oh? Does that mean rumors of your loyalty to Straw Hat Lucy are exaggerated, then? Zoro raises his blades slightly, ready to move. Lucy's our captain, not our master. Chicken bitch blinks, seemingly surprised by his answer, and then the wicked grin is back, and her gleaming wing arcs forward in a diagonal slash toward Zoro. Shisui and Kitetsu swing up in a block. Chicken bitch grunts and disengages, leaping back, and Zoro follows her, unrelenting. Zoro swings forward, about to cut her in half, but she brings a wing up to block, feathers covered in a solid block of diamond-hard snow. She swipes for his head with her free arm, intent on decapitating him, and he's forced to duck down and roll away, because she has a very significant height advantage due to her ability to fly. Zoro rolls to his feet, frowning. This woman is going to be troublesome. It's not that she's particularly powerful. Rather, she's just good enough to make dealing with her a chore. The thing is, unless he's willing to kill her, he's got to keep her distracted until the others have a chance to catch up to the kids. That or otherwise injure her badly and permanently, but with the gas fast approaching, that's as good as a death sentence. He's not certain he wants to kill her. It's been a while since he killed anyone. Last time was Eni's lobby, with Giraffe Guy. That was over 2 years ago now, and before that he'd been 17 and much less skilled than he currently was. He hadn't had much choice about it then. And here's the thing. Zoro's never been fond of slaughter. It's too easy. He doesn't mind killing when necessary, and has never managed to muster much or any guilt over any of the choices he's made, but slaughter isn't something he's ever done before. It's a quality he and Mihawk share. Killing this woman would be slaughter. Not a fight, not a challenge, just boring and useless. So, distraction it is. When the others have had enough time to get to the kids, he'll use that on her and make her stay down. She comes at him again, a flurry of snowblades in easily predicted movement, and he sighs, unimpressed and a bit disappointed. Right. This is going to take a while. When the dark brow comes through with the navy on his heels, following, not chasing, apparently, he's more than a little annoyed. Partly because the shit cook exists, and partly because this means he'll have to stall this woman even longer than he was expecting to let the others go through. Then the copycat shows up, and the situation is immediately 10 times worse. Seriously, what the fuck? Why does this girl exist, and why does she look exactly like Kuina? I think you need my help here, and who the hell does she think she is? Look, get out of my way or I'll make you, Navy chick. The woman doesn't react at all. Her eyes locked on Chicken Bitch. You can't hurt me. Say that again. More accurately, you won't, and you won't hurt that woman either. Bizarrely, Chicken Bitch giggles. I was just thinking the same thing, Navy-chan. Zoro just blinks at both of them, bewildered. Yes I will. Then why haven't you? She demands, so furious she's trembling. It's because you view women as inferior, isn't it? You'd never respect one of us in battle. The fuck are you talking about? We fought in Logia Town. Or did my SX make me too insignificant for you to remember? Now that wasn't fair. Zoro would have remembered Toshigi even if they hadn't fought. She helped him pick out Kitetsu, and she looked too much like Kuina to forget. I told you, you were an insignificant opponent because you were weak. Not because you're a girl. Zoro flicks his gaze casually to Chicken Bitch. Same goes for you, Harpy. Copycat scowls, grip on her katana turning white-knuckled. Zoro kind of wonders what happened to tatter her gloves like that, the fabric in twisted ribbons around her fingers. If that were the case, you would have done to her what you did to me. Zoro vaguely recalls an easy fight that ended with a show of dominance and being really pressed for time. Actually, this isn't that dissimilar. I was going to. Zoro huffs. I needed to buy time for the others first. He frowns at Toshigi. Didn't you listen to a thing I said last time? It doesn't matter who holds the katana if they're weak. Toshigi shakes a little harder. I am not weak. Zoro shrugs. You were last time. But fine. He gestures to Chicken Bitch, who's been surprisingly obliging about this whole conversation. Be my guest. I'll guard the exit. And with that, Zoro takes a seat by the huge-ass door, hands on his katana as he smirks at Copycat expectantly. He's not going to let Copycat get hurt, but he's pretty sure Navy Girl can handle it. She has hockey, after all, which means she must have trained pretty hard since they last saw each other. She's capable of fighting a logia like Chicken Bitch, and this is as effective a stalling technique than anything. She makes a noise sort of similar to a strangled cat and glares. So you're just going to sit there? Jesus, women who aren't Lucy make no sense. Isn't that what you wanted in the first place? Tashigi makes a frustrated noise and whirls to face her actual opponent, and with a quick feint and a dart to the left, the two women begin to fight. Tashigi's gotten a lot better since Zoro last saw her fight. Loads better. Her movements are smoother, her technique more advanced, and she's skillfully weaving armament hockey into her blade to strengthen it, but it doesn't appear to be developed into a coating yet. Had he fought this Tashigi 2 years ago, she would have trashed him, instantly. She's still not on his level. Not even close, she's pretty evenly matched with Chicken Bitch, actually, even when she's using all of her devil fruit abilities. Copycat isn't strong enough to beat Zoro, but he kind of wants to fight her when she is. She seems clever and agile, which are the two qualities his swordsmanship most lacks. He's more of the skill and brute force type. He watches the fight carefully, ready to help if his temporary ally gets overwhelmed. It's not necessary though, neither of them can quite get the upper hand on the other, and they're caught in a struggle for endurance and luck more than anything. It goes on like that for a while, nearly 10 minutes, which is a long time for any fight. They've both gotten a few strikes in, but nothing debilitating, their luck holding equally well. But suddenly the tide shifts, the groan of metal creaks from deep within the facility, and the Marine glances away from her opponent in a split-second's distraction. Chicken Bitch lunges for her knees, and Tashigi trips, despite her retroactive efforts to dodge. Her katana flies across the room, and all her careful footwork betrays her as she overbalances right into Chicken Bitch's teeth. Copycat screams as blood runs down her shoulder and ice spreads from the wound. A furious expression creases her face, and Zoro knows she's probably angrier with herself than she is the woman trying to take a chunk out of her shoulder. Zoro would normally never interfere with someone else's fight, especially not someone with as big a chip on her shoulder as Copycat seems to have. He understands pride better than that. But, well, Tashigi interfered first anyway. And frankly he can't listen to someone who looks so much like Kuina scream like that. Can't watch her lose so stupidly, either. He stands, carefully applies hockey to his katana, and aims. Chicken Bitch rears back, blood pouring from the cut across the bridge of her nose, and she yelps in pain. Copycat looks up at him accusingly, like she's mad about the interruption. He gives her an unimpressed look, but tries to help her salvage her pride. We've stalled her long enough, don't you think? Tashigi's scowl deepens, but her eyes betray a little more uncertainty. This girl can't be Kuina. She's way too expressive about everything and not nearly smug enough. Zoro turns his attention back to the logia, stalking forward slowly, with purpose. He grins a little, seeing the terror in her expression as she realizes he's not restraining himself any longer. You underestimated me, you know. He taps on the terrible well inside him, lets it leak into his aura and sees the woman flinch when she senses it. I've never seen a wild animal that wouldn't bite. Have you? The harpy trembles, clearly fighting the instinct to run, and Zoro remembers days he spent hungry in the streets. That time he got jumped by a gang of children who hated foreigners. Whose parents hated foreigners. The satisfaction of a proper, bloodletting fight. The fury of a true battle. Every time he thought Lucy was seriously hurt or dead. The feeling right after Mihawk delivered the news of Ace's death and Lucy's tragedy. He brings everything forward, on and on until bloodlust wells and the memories tinge red with the absolute ferocity of his own dark presence. Kitetsu howls at his hip, and Zoro uses the rage there, fuels his own with it. He cuts his opponent in half, unhesitating, bisects her from head to groin. Zoro lets out a huffed breath, reining himself in. It's a useful move. It just takes a lot out of him. Mentally speaking, pack those thoughts away now than it's ever been before. He suspects reuniting with his nakama, particularly resolving things with Lucy, has something to do with that. Did you just scare her into paralysis? Toshigi sounds one part odd, one part horrified. Zoro supposes that's as good a reaction as any. Yeah, he huffs dryly. It's time they caught up to the others. The gas is going to leak in soon, and they have to get to R66. Lucy better be there with Caesar, completely unharmed, or so help him Zoro is going to cut the building in half out of spite. This island has been straight up annoying ever since they crossed the lake. Well, that's humiliating, Toshigi huffs. It would have been kinder to kill her. He hears the crunch of snow behind him, and knows she's following. Killing her would have been the same as murder, considering the difference between us. I would do it if I had to, but I didn't. Toshigi makes a noise that could definitely be considered a frustrated growl. Why do you always act like you're better than me? She asks angrily. Zoro strides forward, shaking his head. Hey, what are you talking about, copycat? I wasn't talking about you. You always talk down to me, she grumbles. Tell me, do you do this to your captain, too? I wonder how she stands you, if that's the case. Oh, for the love of. I'm stronger than you, but Lucy's stronger than anyone. Get over yourself already. So you do think you're better than me, copycat growls. This is, possibly the stupidest conversation Zoro has ever had. Yes, because I am. At the very least he doesn't bait near strangers into weirdly misconstrued arguments on SXISM. You are not. There's a pause as they cross the door's threshold. She lost to Smoker in Logatown, Toshigi says smugly, and Zoro hesitates for a fraction of a second, because he actually didn't know they fought then. But whatever. The Straw Hats got away in the end, thanks in no small part to Dragon, the bastard. Then she gasps, and he hears her drop to her knees behind him. He turns to see her clutching her shoulder, breathing hard. Eh? You hurt? She scowls at him even through the pain in her face. I'm fine, go on without me. Zoro rolls his eyes. This woman is stupid stubborn. She might be even worse than Lucy, and that's saying something. At least Lucy asks for help when she needs it. He's about to say so when Toshigi collapses face first into the snow. Great. Just great. Oh well. Not like there's much to be done about it. Zoro hefts her over his shoulder in a fireman's carry, and takes off down the hall. His crew better have fixed the kids by now, or Zoro's going to cut something. Caesar is the kind of person Lucy hates the most. That's all there is to it, really. When most of her nakama arrive in the R66 tower, Lucy goes forward to greet them, grinning. She's been keeping a subtle eye on them with observation hockey, so she knew they were safe and getting closer, but it's good to see them regardless. Zoro looks particularly irritated, if the frown creasing his eyebrows is any indication. Lucy's pretty sure the shrieking marine lady he's hauling over his shoulder has something to do with that though. Lucy waves to them, and she sees Nami and Sanji's shoulders drop in relief. Robin smiles and waves too, and Zoro's face softens, just a little. He sets down the marine lady into the waiting arms of one of her subordinates, and she doesn't seem any happier to be handled by them than she was by Zoro. Lucy meets Nami and Robin first, instantly throwing her arms around them in a quick hug. I knew you guys would be fine. She cheers. Lucy doesn't miss the way all four of them soften toward her at the words, even as the boys approach. They're all still a bit sensitive from being torn apart. Lucy's job as captain is to make sure they all understand that it's never going to happen again, that they'll never be torn apart like they were, not ever. Lucy's not going to let it happen, and she's strong enough now to back that promise up. A quick glance tells her that her nakama are all unharmed. She knew they would be, has too much faith in them to think otherwise, but she's glad to see it all the same. She releases Nami and Robin, who follow closely as they approach the boys. Still sensitive. It's all right. Lucy's going to prove it to them. It happens by chance, but from the corner of her eye Lucy sees the marine lady glare at Zoro, and there's so much emotion there. Most of it revolving around frustration and irritation, but also a grudging respect and admiration that makes something dark and unfamiliar rear its ugly head in Lucy. Impulsively, Lucy reaches out to snatch Zoro's hand in hers. She just barely refrains from sending the marine a challenging look, but she can't stop the thought from bubbling up that Zoro is mine, and you can't have him. Oh, she's jealous. That's odd. Zoro raises an eyebrow at her, his silver eyes sharp with confusion. Neither of them are exactly opposed to public displays of affection, especially around their nakama, but doing stuff around strangers makes them both uncomfortable. She's not usually clingy, either, except when they're alone. Zoro probably thinks something happened to her, or thinks she thinks something happened to him. Either way, he squeezes her hand once, and doesn't let go as she flits around him to give Sanji a quick, encouraging punch to the ribs, grinning when he does nothing but wince through it. She has to fight the urge to glare at the marine lady when she spies her behind Zoro. It's not the first time that woman inspired jealousy in Lucy. It happened in Logia Town, too. Lucy didn't know what it was then, didn't have a good enough grasp on her feelings toward the swordsman to figure out what was going on. But she distinctly remembers harboring an instant and largely undeserved sense of dislike toward the woman before she completely forgot about her. It's renewed now. Shit, maybe she's sensitive too. No wonder Zoro freaked that one time. Jealousy is a very unpleasant feeling. Maybe she should try and convince Zoro to get a tattoo too. Like, a tattoo of her hat or something. Was that too pimpish? It might be too pimpish. Especially if it was on his ass, or the small of his back. The thought makes her snort, and Zoro looks even more confused by her behavior than ever. She shakes her head, letting him know it's nothing, and she sees the gears turn as he decides to let her be. He hasn't looked away this whole time though, and it makes the jealousy still choking her throat ease away. She's being silly. Marine lady is nearly irrelevant. So she grins at him in lieu of an explanation, and the little, barely there smile on his lips, his expression a bit softer than normal, lets her know he understood. She laces their fingers together, and enjoys the way his calluses fit with hers. How is it possible that they're disgustingly cute even when they're not doing anything? Nami complains, making an emphatic gesture at Lucy and Zoro while Sanji sighs and Robin giggles. I thought them getting together would make it better, not worse. We may have forgotten to account for their mutual penchant for tactile communication, Robin adds. Lucy gets the distinct impression that Robin sometimes makes comments just to watch the metaphorical fireworks. At least if they do it in public we know he's not being inappropriate with Lucy-san, Sanji grumbles. Eh? What was that? Zoro asks, irritated. Lucy grins as the two of them start up an argument. Both of them clearly enjoying it more than anyone should be enjoying a fight, and snickers. She makes the mistake of looking up toward the door, hoping to see the rest of her nakama arrive, and accidentally sets eyes on the marine lady, who is looking at her and Zoro's joined hands like it's the most astounding thing she's ever seen, question swimming in her eyes. Lucy takes a step closer to Zoro, her shoulder pressing into his side, and tries not to project that she's staking a claim. The questioning glances she receives from Robin and Nami let her know the meal Sanji serves everyone after they make it out of the lab is as delicious as it always is, even considering its simplicity. Lucy gets the distinct impression that he's trying to impress the Marines, but she's a little confused as to why, considering the way they all seem to worship him already. Most everyone is enjoying themselves, and the party in general. Torao is off sulking somewhere, and Lucy's not exactly sure where Nami and the marine lady got off to, but she's sure they're fine. The rest of Lucy's nakama are mingling with the Marines, who seem kind of rough and hardy for the Navy. She likes them. She thinks they're the type of Marine her grandfather must get along with well. Only Smokey doesn't participate. He looks grumpy. Lucy's reasonably certain Smokey always looks grumpy, at least when he's in any sort of proximity to her person, but that doesn't mean she's not going to try and make him less grumpy. She bounces over to Sanji, requesting a bowl of the soup. He obliges when she explains it isn't for her, but someone who won't eat otherwise, and his gaze flicks first to Torao, who looks at anything resembling bread like it had personally denounced his gods, and then to Smokey. Sanji nods seriously, tells her he's counting on her with a smile, and compliments her people reading skills. Lucy grins at him, and weaves her way through the crowd of Marines to Smokey, holding the bowl close to her chest so it stays warm. She huddles a little into the scarf Zoro lent her earlier, after they made it to the ships. The wind off the sea is cold, and it cuts through her clothing a little too well. The scarf helps though, covering the gap between her collar and her chin. Plus it smells like Zoro, so, win-win. Lucy gets the feeling Zoro likes seeing her in his clothes. She'll have to keep it in mind. It's a minor miracle that she makes it to the Vice Admiral without tripping or otherwise spilling the soup, Or eating the soup, because Sanji can cook. What the hell did Eva-chan teach him? How is it possible he's even better than before? But she does, easily enough. And grins as she approaches the wary man. He watches with highly suspicious eyes as she presents the soup, clearly thinking she's up to something. What do you want, straw hat? Smokey grunts. He's kind of tense. It occurs to Lucy that the last time they were this close, he managed to pin her to the ice of Marineford, growling something about having finally caught her or some such. She frowns a little, remembering. She's pretty sure it was Hancock that threw him off of her. But that probably just means it's all the more appropriate that they reunite here, on Punk Hazard. It's just as cold. And this time they're sort of kind of on the same side. They all want the kids safe, at any rate. So Lucy smiles wide again, and wafts the soup under his nose. If his devil fruit affects him in any way similarly to the way hers affects her metabolism, he's got to be starving right now. I brought soup, she declares cheerfully. She sees his nose twitch and then flare in irritation. Not hungry, Straw Hat. Lucy frowns. Sanji'll be mad if you don't eat it. Smokey makes an abortive motion toward rolling his eyes. I'm not afraid of black leg. Then he gives her a sort of judgmental, questioning look. Are you? He's your cook. Lucy gives a solemn nod. Sanji is scary. But then she shrugs. But not to me. If I make him mad he'll take it out on you. She pushes the soup toward him a little, prompting. So eat, it's good. Smokey huffs a little. I won't eat anything made by pirates. Lucy frowns harder, offended on her cook's behalf. Sanji would never poison food. It's sacred. She gives him a wide grin, reassuring. And I like you, remember? I wouldn't either. The memory of Alabasta seems to anger him more than anything, which is stupid considering how well it all turned out. Lucy's kind of done arguing about this though, and the soup is getting cold, so she more or less drops it in Smokey's lap, forcing him to catch it or risk it spilling all over his trousers. A risky move, considering Sanji's probable wrath in the event of wasted food, but she's confident in Smokey's reflexes. It pans out the way she expected, with Smokey catching the bowl with a few choice curses and a gnashing of his cigars. He probably has a nicotine addiction to rival her cooks. Smokey looks up, expression dark. Lucy just grins in response, raising both hands in the air and leaning away from him. No take-backs. Smoker huffs, looking supremely irritated, and turns his glare to the bowl in his hands, looking like he's very much contemplating just dumping it out on the snow beneath his feet. Lucy hopes he won't do that. Sanji would be upset. Plus he needs to eat. But she has a feeling telling him that won't help anything, so she changes the topic instead. Do you poop when you're all smoky like that, Smokey? Smokey just stares at her, face blank. What? Do you poop when you? I heard what you. Smokey looks like he wants to shoot things. Possibly Lucy. She cocks her head to the side, innocent. You know what? Leave. You're irritating me. Lucy raises an eyebrow. Yeah, but you're not chasing us right now. So when else would we get to talk? A particularly strong blast of wind cuts through the bay, and Lucy huddles a little deeper in Zoro's scarf, frowning and absently pressing fisted knuckles to the center of her scar. Something about the action seems to sober Smokey, because he sits back a little, soup forgotten in his hands. Why the hell would you want to talk to me? You're a pirate. I'm a marine. Lucy shrugs. So's Gramps. I'd still talk to him. And if doing so would be harder than it used to be, it isn't because Gramps is a marine. The scar aches a little more. It's got nothing to do with the cold, but it's manageable all the same. Nothing like it used to be. Smokey raises an eyebrow, looking somewhat skeptical. Lucy plops herself on the bench beside him. Smokey is a big guy, and his torso is nearly triple the length of hers, so he has to kink his neck down to glare at her. Lucy figures he might actually eat the soup if she isn't standing in front of him, distracting, but she wants to keep an eye on him so she stays where she is. Before them, their respective crews are intermingling. Nami and Tashigi are on the bow of the marine tanker. She can sort of sense Nami, but it's fuzzy, and she mostly only knows because she can see the marine lady's pink coat even from here. Sanji is still passing out meals, expertly divvying up portions among the remaining hungry. And the strange samurai father-son duo are finishing up their own meals behind him. Frankie and Robin are fixing the ship, and Brooke is challenging a marine to Well, it looks like they're having a fiddling contest. Torao is sulking off to the side, probably still upset that she declared this would have to be a fast feast rather than that there be no feast. Honestly, all that running and no feast, she deserves better, her crew deserves better. Plus, if they left before the kids were safe, Nami and Chopper would be upset. Usopp and Zoro are seated across from each other in a circle of the most drunken, rowdy Marines. Usopp is swaying a little, and there's a flush high on Zoro's cheekbones from the alcohol he's consumed. She looks around for the usual 3 barrels required to get him tipsy, and isn't disappointed when she finds 2 on their sides behind him and one that's clearly been smashed over the Marine's head. Zoro laughs at something one of his drinking partners says. His smile is broad and satisfied, and it makes her smile in return. It's not a good idea, you know. Lucy blinks, and turns her attention back to Smokey. Huh? Smokey grunts and uses his chin to point to Usopp and Zoro. It's not a good idea to get involved with subordinates. His eyes stray up to the tanker's balcony, and Lucy is pretty sure he isn't thinking about Nami. There might be a tiny unclenching in Lucy's chest, one where jealousy just unkinked. Zoro's not my subordinate, he's Nakama. Honestly, Faye, people should really get their terminology straight. At least Jimbei figured it out. Smokey huffs, and cigar smoke wafts from his cigars, right into Lucy's face. She wrinkles her nose, disgusted. She'll never understand people's addiction to these things. Doesn't matter, Smokey growls, and Lucy notes the way he raises the spoon in his bowl consideringly. You're still captain. He's not. It's bound to cause problems. Smokey glares at the soup like it's withholding the meaning to life. Or the One Piece. Same difference. I've seen plenty of crews go up in flames over something like that. Must not be very good crews then. Some of them were plenty good. You'd know him if I named him. Most were as close-knit as yours. Smokey gives her a pointed glance. The effect is worse when the woman is the captain. Makes men feel emasculated. Lucy scoffs. That's stupid. Smoker puffs his cigars in a manner that could be interpreted as agreement. It's true though. Lucy thinks of Jaya, about how angry it made Zoro to be restrained from defending her. She wonders if he was angry when she made him wait 2 years to comfort her. She hadn't thought to ask. It's not the same as what Smokey's talking about though. He's acting like Zoro is like Sanji, which, yeah, Lucy could see how that would be a problem. Sanji likes caring for people, especially women, too much. He'd feel cheated, in a way, if his partner forced him not to. She and Zoro aren't like that though. She and Zoro are 2 protectors, and they're highly independent people with a relationship built on mutual respect. Yeah, sometimes Lucy issues orders, but she expects Zoro to stand up to them if he doesn't like them, regardless of their newfound relationship, just like he's always done. He makes her better. The balance, admittedly, is a bit delicate, but it's not that hard to navigate, not for them. Zoro's not like that. Smokey gives her a skeptical look. Lucy shrugs. He's strong. Smokey huffs again, maybe a little amused this time. No wonder Tashigi hates him then. Lucy gives him a questioning look, not understanding at all, but Smokey doesn't elaborate. Marines have regs against it, you know. Too volatile for proper ship function. Lucy grins wide. Good thing I'm not a Marine then. Smokey looks somewhat pained at the thought. No, thank God. We don't need another Garp. Lucy giggles. Gramps wanted me to be. I always wanted to be a pirate. The hell is so appealing about that? Lucy gives him a pointed look. We can be with whoever we want, for one thing. Smokey's default glare intensifies. Lucy softens a little, watching Chopper play catch with one of the children. But mostly to be free. Smokey doesn't say anything to that. He seems a little stumped by her answer though. They're quiet for a moment. Lucy watches Torao try and fail to fend off Sanji's attempts at feeding him. Poor Torao. He clearly had no idea what he was in for when he asked to be her friend. Torao grumpily rooms himself to the other side of the gathering. It doesn't help him at all though, because Sanji just orders the Marines to hold him down as he storms over, and informs him in no uncertain terms that Torao will eat or Sanji will not be responsible for his actions. Ah, Sanji likes him. Lucy thought they would get along pretty well. Zoro sees the whole thing and peals of laughter ring out over the crowd. Lucy smiles when she hears it. and considers going over to party with him and Usopp in a bit. They look like they're having a lot of fun. Oi! Are you just going to sit there? Lucy looks up, a bit startled. She forgot about Smokey. That was rude of her. Nope. It's a party, she cheers, standing. She looks at the soup in Smokey's hands, her reason for coming over in the first place. You should eat that. Sanji'll get mad. Smokey looks more than a little irritated. So you said. Lucy stares at him a moment more, then shrugs. His funeral. See you later, Smokey. She turns to go find someone else to bother, but the Vice Admiral stops her. Straw Hat. Lucy turns to him, curious. Smokey's face is deadly serious. You know this doesn't change anything, right? I'm still hunting you. Lucy blinks at him a few times, because duh, of course. Smokey looks at her a second longer, and then sighs, apparently coming to some important conclusion about something. He makes a shooing motion with his hand. Off with you, then. Lucy grins. Enjoy the soup. Then she turns and bounds back to the crowd. Smokey. What a weird guy. But a good one. If he wasn't a Marine, she'd ask him to join her crew. Lucy's next target is Toro. She finds him aggressively eating Sanji's soup near an empty fire pit. He notices her approach, raising his head from the food. He's facing away from the fire pit, legs splayed out in front of him, and he leans against what is probably a relatively warm rock. She stops in front of him, and takes a squat so they're on eye level. He raises an eyebrow. Can I help you? He asks when she doesn't speak, the corners of his mouth curled in irritation. He's probably still grumpy about the whole feast thing. Lucy stares, her own eyes narrowing. She trusts Toro. More than she should, Nami would probably say. She's not exactly sure what it is about him that makes her think he won't betray her, but it's an instinct sort of thing. It's never led her wrong before, and she's not going to start doubting it now. She's growing quietly certain that he needs help. And Lucy's his friend now. She's not going to turn her back to him. But there are still boundaries, lines that need to be drawn, and things Lucy will not tolerate. Toro frowns a little harder at her silence. Well, are you just gonna stare, Straw Hat Yaw? You're the one who cut the factory in half, right? She sees his face slack with surprise for a moment before he covers it up, his expression set to characteristic blandness. Lucy can sense his wariness though, and maybe a little defensiveness. Observation hockey is useful, sometimes. And if I did? He asks carefully. His eyes are a bit sharper with calculation than before. It was you, Lucy says confidently. She asked Zoro about it earlier, before Toro and Smokey arrived. He said it wasn't him, and Lucy is pretty sure Toro is the only other swordsman around with the power to do something like that. His reaction confirmed it. It was cool. Toro still seems suspicious, even with the bland expression. Lucy raises a hand to her hat, and presses it down over her eyes. Was it necessary? What? Was it necessary? No answer. I figured we'd end up destroying the factory sometime, Lucy admits. And I figured that's what you meant when you said you wouldn't be able to guarantee everyone's safety after 2 hours. Lucy looks up at him, and his expression is almost the definition of a void but for the small trace of bone-deep shock around his eyes. It's okay if you did it the way you did because it was necessary. But if not, Lucy is careful to make sure her breathing doesn't betray her rage at the thought. If it wasn't necessary, then you endangered my nakama for no reason, Toro. At the time, none of them had even made it to the tower. Lucy was there waiting with Brownbeard, and it was nowhere near the time limit given to everyone at the entrance. She'd been scared. Worried. Only the fact that she could sense them all alive, if frantic, held her in place. Before her, something in Toro seems to soften in understanding, for all that he maintains his general guardedness. Lucy thinks he must be a good captain, one who understands stuff like this. She doesn't think someone as cool as a polar bear would follow someone who didn't. I won't ask any more about it, Lucy tells him. She doesn't want to talk about it much either. But Toro, if you ever endanger one of my nakama unnecessarily again, we're not gonna have an alliance anymore. Lucy doesn't want to do that. She wants to be Toro's friend, and in no small part because she thinks he needs one. But her nakama come first. Her nakama always come first. It's about risking one's life for a dream, and there are no guarantees, but it's Lucy's job as their captain to make sure her nakama aren't risking themselves pointlessly. or sacrificing things for causes that aren't worth it. You had to guarantee my life, Nami demanded on Skypia. Lucy hasn't forgotten. She won't forget. It's why they waited 2 years to meet again. Isn't that what this whole thing is about? Torao asks quietly. This alliance, it's an unnecessary risk for you, isn't it? Lucy shakes her head, a little annoyed that he doesn't seem to get it. You can risk me all you want, she explains, but not them. Torao's green-gray eyes widen, just a little, and then she senses it as he realizes what she's saying. Lucy takes friendship seriously. Really seriously. And she's Torao's friend now, so she's going to do whatever it takes to make sure he has whatever it is he needs. She's still not sure, exactly, what that is, or how the stupid clown fits into all of this, but it's fine. She's with him until he doesn't need her anymore, just like she would be for any friend. She's strong now. Strong enough to beat up anything that comes their way, and come hell or high water she's going to beat up the shadows in Torao's eyes. She doesn't like them. But that all changes if Torao asks for what she isn't willing to give up. She will not tolerate anyone hurting her nakama. That was true in the beginning, and even more so now. Torao needs to get it. Nothing happened this time, but she won't tolerate it again. I see, he says quietly. Lucy has a feeling he does. She nods to him sternly, kind of like she's trying to do a handshake with her forehead. He frown blinks in response, and Lucy stands, offering him a wave as she walks away. Straw Hat Ya, Torao calls. Lucy stops and turns back. He hasn't moved but he looks a little more animated. There's some kind of determination in his spine that wasn't there before. It was necessary. Lucy blinks twice, and then grins at him. Good, it was really cool. Torao snorts, and leans back against his half-warmed rock, the suspicion in him finally seeping away. Glad you thought so. Lucy turns, eyeing the center of the party, and throws a wave and a parting comment over her shoulder. Enjoy the soup. Sanji's the best cook. We need to leave soon, Straw Hat Ya. Just as soon as everyone's finished. Eating? Partying? Torao sounds properly disgusted. Lucy giggles, and feels her chest lighten when she sees Zoro throw a marine who went for his sake over his shoulder one-handed. Right. Now she can have fun. Leaving Punk Hazard is good. Zoro's spent more than enough time in the mad scientist's lair, thanks. But at least the partying was good. Really good. Sake, yes. He may be a bit tipsy, but it doesn't matter because a small gloved hand is twined with his and Lucy is leaning into him a little as they walk, taking shelter from the cold. Her cheeks are red from the wind, her eyes bright. Her hair whips around her, tangled as usual, and it's only the fuzzy yellow earmuffs that keep it out of her face. Zoro kind of wants to kiss her. It's too bad she's pulled his scarf over the lower half of her face. Actually, it's not. He'd rather she stay warm. He'll kiss her when they get back to the ship. Did you have fun? Lucy asks, and her eyes are crinkled at the corners, like she's laughing. Zoro wants to kiss her again. Sake was good. Lucy's smile is easy to detect, even with the scarf over her face, I'll bet. Straw Hat Ya, a low, irritated voice calls. Both Zoro and Lucy turn to look at the other captain. Don't dawdle. We stayed too long as it is. Zoro stares at him, deadpan, and a little nonplussed at the order. Lucy just waves at him sort of reassuringly and nods. Yeah, we'll leave soon. Zoro raises an eyebrow. Lucy didn't manage to recruit another crew member, did she? We're in an alliance with Torao. We're going to take down Kaido. Zoro blinks at her, sobering almost instantly. You have a plan? Torao does. Plan. We're going to kick Kaido's ass. Lucy cheers, seeming entirely oblivious to the absurdity of that statement. Trafalgar looks bored, and maybe a little irritated. Zoro supposes that makes sense, considering the fact that he's been trying to get Lucy to obey anything other than her whims all day. He says after a moment, staring at Trafalgar. The captain stares back at him, expression bland. Oi, Lucy, come over here for a sec. Chopper found a frozen tide pool. Lucy's eyes light up like the freaking sun and she's off like a shot to where Usopp and Chopper are kneeling over the ice. Zoro looks at Trafalgar. Trafalgar looks at Zoro. You poor bastard, Zoro says after a moment. It's the only thing he can think to say. Trafalgar's face looks vaguely wan. Why does everyone keep saying that? Why does her crew keep saying that? Pity, mostly. Well, at least the comments about not being able to trust Lucy made sense now. Trafalgar is definitely a schemer, in the same way Lucy is an agent of chaos and good cheer. This is a disaster waiting to happen, and Trafalgar clearly came into this thinking Lucy's previous successes in Paradise were the result of careful planning, rather than brute force and luck. Judging from his facial expression, Trafalgar is just now figuring out he done gone fucked up. You poor bastard. It bears repeating, yeah, thanks for that. Zoro frowns at him. We're going after Kaido? Trafalgar's irritated expression melts into a bland one, eventually. Zoro sort of regrets not being completely sober for this conversation. Right. Sounds like the sort of thing we do. I've got it all planned out. Zoro has never in his life pitied someone this much. That's nice. Lucy probably won't follow any of it. Trafalgar stiffens and scowls. She agreed to it. Poor bastard. She agreed to beat up Kaido. She couldn't care less how it's done. Trafalgar looks vaguely like someone made him swallow a pickled egg. Zoro notices Lucy, still with Chopper and Usopp, now punching the frozen ice, probably to try and get at the creatures encapsulated in the tide pool. How did you people even make it this far? Trafalgar despairs. Good, seems like he's finally getting it. Fate, luck, and brute force, mostly, Zoro admits. Then his eyes narrow, because something about this whole thing seems off. Why Kaido though? Trafalgar stiffens, and starts walking toward the ship. It's an easy pace, unhurried, but Zoro's pretty sure he's still dodging the question anyway. One of his suppliers. I know him. Know how to take him both out. Zoro raises an eyebrow, following the other captain. Not for the first time, he notices the sword leaning against Trafalgar's shoulder, and he wonders if the guy can use it. You're playing them off each other? Trafalgar scoffs, nodding to Lucy. We are. Zoro chews on that for a moment, and the two of them cross the frozen bay to the gangplank in silence. Kaido is a Yonko. He's not to be underestimated. Lucy is strong, and she will be Pirate King one day, but she's not yet, and he doesn't know if she's strong enough to start knocking at the door of the greatest pirates on the seas yet. In the same way, Zoro knows he has to grow as well. He's strong, stronger than most, even in the New World, but he still has peaks to reach before he can claim his title. Lucy lost to Caesar the first time they clashed. He doesn't hold it against her. She won in the end, came off the island with 0 injuries for once, but with that as their latest mark on their track record, well, are they really ready to take on a Yonko? You don't think we're biting off more than we can chew? Zoro asks lowly. From the deck, Nami hollers something at Frankie, but the wind catches her words and it's impossible to make out. Trafalgar raises an eyebrow. Gotta admit, I didn't take you for the cautious one. Zoro rolls his eye. I'm not. Then his gaze shifts involuntarily to Lucy, now giggling with Chopper at the apparently soaked state, and he mentally amends except when it involves them. Trafalgar considers him for a moment more, and then turns away. I informed her that the chances of success are low. Straw Hat Yaw didn't seem fazed. Of course not. Zoro scoffs. Expecting Lucy to be cautious of a fight would be like expecting a lion to fear a deer. Those are her usual odds. Trafalgar seems a little amused at this, even if his expression doesn't change, I figured. They're close enough to the ship now that Zoro can hear Sanji cooing over Robin and offering her excessive amounts of coffee and cake. He can also hear her polite refusals, and the humor in her voice. Lucy laughs off to their right, and Zoro looks at her, feels himself soften helplessly. You're not going to screw her over, right? Trafalgar hesitates for a moment before responding. No more than I will myself. Well, that's all there is for it then. Zoro claps him on the shoulder, and starts climbing the rigging up to the deck. Welcome aboard, Toro. I'm not joining your crew, Trafalgar mutters petulantly. I'm a captain. What is with you people? Zoro smothers a grin. Having this guy on board is going to be fun. The entire crew is going to haze him. Poor bastard. He probably didn't bargain for a passive-aggressive onslaught from the crew when he offered Lucy an alliance. He catches a downright predatory glance from Nami as Trafalgar makes it over the rail. Zoro can't really blame her for being overprotective. Indefensive. They just reunited a week and a half ago, and Zoro is nowhere near ready to split again. He knows the others feel the same. It's no wonder they're all so wary of the newcomers they've picked up on Punk Hazard, and especially Trafalgar, who targeted Lucy specifically. At least now Zoro is pretty sure Trafalgar isn't out to achieve Lucy's demise. She's just a means to an end for him, and probably not one he's willing to sacrifice ahead of himself. It's good to know. It does make him wonder what that goal is, but that's what they have Lucy's gut instincts for anyway. If Trafalgar intended her harm she couldn't handle, she wouldn't have accepted the alliance. The guy did save her life after all. He probably isn't interested in undoing all that work. It seems especially unlikely considering the way he's now wandering around the deck, looking at the mic and trees with reluctant interest. This plan, whatever it is dangerous. Zoro can see that. Maybe the most reckless thing they've ever done. That's not exactly a deterrent for them. Actually, the idea of taking on a Yonko has Zoro kind of giddy in anticipation. But it is a consideration. It has to be, now, especially since Lucy's already picked a fight with Big Ma'am. This is the new world. If they're going to make Lucy Pirate King like they planned to, they need to actually plan. Take new challenges carefully. Lucy understands this, he knows. He's seen it in the intentionality of her actions in the last week or so, and in the fact that she accepted any sort of alliance at all. Set the foot down with distrust on the crust of the world. It is thin, Sensei used to say. This feels like one of those times it's particularly applicable. Lucy vaults over the edge of the ship. Chopper wrapped in one arm and a hollering Usopp is left behind on the ground. Lucy's got a wide, childish grin on her face and his displaced scarf wrapped around Chopper's antlers, for some reason. There's a high flush on her cheeks from the cold and also her amusement, and there's a mischievous light in her eyes that he's missed. It's not that he distrusts Trafalgar exactly. He doesn't trust him, but Lucy seems to, so it's fine. It's more that he distrusts the situation, and he's not sure Lucy is stepping carefully enough. But that's fine. That's half his job as her first mate. It's why they make a good team. Usopp heaves himself over the rail, and Lucy sprints for Zoro, giggling like mad, and he heaves a great, disaffected sigh as she hides behind him with Chopper still under one arm. She peeks out from under his elbow and squeaks as Usopp charges. Snow still melting on his collar. Then the three of them are circling Zoro frantically, with Lucy using him as a human shield. He puts an end to it by snatching the back of Lucy's collar and yanking her up to eye level. She gives him a blinding grin while Chopper trembles with hilarity in her arms. He gives a panting Usopp a warning look, and receives a satisfactory yelp in return. "We should get going," he tells her. Lucy's eyes light up the way he's come to associate with anticipation of a good adventure. All right. He sets the two of them down, and half expects Lucy to run off again. Instead she sets Chopper on the deck with a grin. The little reindeer still giggling at whatever they did to Usopp, and she unwinds the scarf from Chopper's antlers. "That was fun." Chopper cheers. Lucy's grin widens impossibly, of course. Chopper giggles again and runs off. Lucy turns back to Zoro, still grinning, and he could swear her heart is in her eyes when she offers him the scarf again. The light catches her perfectly, reflecting off of glaciers and seawater, and she seems to glow a little, her freckles standing out against her cheekbones, dark hair sweeping around her face. God, she's pretty. Zoro has to look away to avoid flushing. "Keep it," he grunts. "You're still cold." Lucy's smile turns a bit softer, and she wraps the scarf around her neck again. "You're always watching out for me, Zoro." Zoro's not sure what expression is on his face right now. He's having a hard time beating down his simultaneous embarrassment and satisfaction. "It's my job, isn't it?" He said it with a casual, accidental sort of intensity, and Lucy's cheeks redden a little. If Zoro wasn't so busy staring, he would probably roll his eyes at her apparent embarrassment. Lucy likes to spout ridiculously frank statements, but she can't take the same treatment, he's found. Lucky for her, he finds it more difficult to say stuff like that than she does. Unexpectedly, her hand snatches out to take his, twining their fingers together. It's a bit awkward and stiff because they're both wearing gloves, but Zoro doesn't mind because he can feel the warmth of her hand through the fabric, and it's nice. A strong gust of wind washes over the ship and she shudders, leaning into him a little for the body heat. Her free hand absently floats toward her chest in a fist. And Zoro closes his hand around it, massaging the fist loose with his thumb, and releases her hand when it goes slack. Go inside, he tells her. We'll be away from the island soon. You can stay there until then. Lucy shakes her head, scrunching her nose. Everyone's out here. Ah. Let's go then. We've been here long enough. And he wants her to stop shaking, but he figures that's a given. Lucy nods. Nami, set sail. A chorus of eyes can be heard around the deck, and Brooke helpfully starts playing an energetic riff on his guitar. Most of the rigging is already prepared, and it's just a matter of navigating away from the shore at this point. Something Nami has well in hand if her precise instructions to Frankie are anything to go by. Hey, Zoro. He looks down at her, his attention having drifted to the activity on deck, and waits for her to speak. You know it's my job to protect you, too, right? She asks, face earnest. Some part, a large part, of Zoro rejects that. He hates the very idea of Lucy sacrificing anything for him. He never wants to see a day where she makes the same choice he did on Thriller Bark. He isn't sure he'd survive such a thing, and he will never, ever be okay with it, even if he knows he'd make the same choice for her in a heartbeat, again. But he knows she's not just talking about a hypothetical fight where he can't defend himself. He knows she's talking about more than her duty to the crew as their captain, and how her role is kicking the ass of whoever the biggest asshole in town is. She's talking about the little things, like making sure he doesn't cut himself off from their nakama, like he's pro-problems to himself. She's talking about the small, unthinking things they do for each other, how she stays nearby if she knows he's had a nightmare, but not close enough to tip the others off, or how she sets his favorite brand of sake aside at a party. She's talking about comfort and companionship and the textures of a relationship that make it special and intimate. Yeah, he tells her quietly. His voice is a little gruff, I know. Lucy beams, and frankly Zoro just doesn't have it in him to refrain from kissing her right then. By the third day of their voyage to Dressrosa, it has become readily apparent that Torao is a bit of a sourpuss. By this Lucy means nothing at all, except that he's really grumpy. Even grumpier than Zoro when he loses an argument with Sanji, and Torao's like that, like, all the time. The Sunny is currently harboring a lot of guests. It's fine though, because Frankie is awesome, and built the ship with guests in mind. They managed to set up some cots in the library for Kinemon and Momonosuke, and Caesar isn't ever untied from the mast except to use the restroom and eat, so that's where he sleeps, and whoever's on lookout duty keeps an eye on him as well. As for Torao, there's an extra bed in the boys' quarters. Or he's supposed to sleep there, at any rate. Sanji informed her today that Torao hasn't even set foot there once, and apparently just keeps staring Caesar down until he nods off during the night. According to Usopp, such rest could be described as fitful, at best, with the added information that it was creepy as fuck to observe. Probably due to sleep deprivation, Torao has been napping, again, restlessly, during the day. Usually right across from Caesar, like he's afraid the guy will escape or something if he leaves. By the third day of their week-long trip to Dressrosa, Lucis had enough. This Mingo guy seems like a piece of work. Torao has to be well rested when they meet him, especially since he hates the guy so much. Plus, Chopper is starting to worry himself over the other captain, so it's time for Lucy to intervene. "What ya doin'?" Lucy asks, squatting in front of an obviously dozing Torao. He blinks awake instantly, but honestly he couldn't have been sleeping that well considering how tense he was. Sleeping. Torao grouses, lies, shifting a little on the deck. He's leaning against Sunny's rail, port side. It offers a good view of the main deck of the ship, and the comings and goings of people on both ends. It's one of Zoro's favorite spots too. It's also right in front of Caesar, who's been complaining vociferously about Torao's behavior. Lucy doesn't really care about his feelings, like, at all. But it does make life on the ship more irritating when they have to listen to him talk. Not well, Lucy points out bluntly. Why don't you sleep at night, like everyone else? Torao glares, and then tugs the hat down over his eyes. Lucy kind of wants to play with the hat. It looks fuzzy, but she'd never touch another person's hat without permission, especially when it's obviously so important. Is the bed not comfy? I bet Frankie can fix that. Lucy's almost certain the bed isn't the issue. The bed's fine, Torao grunts, irritated. now leave me alone." Lucy frowns at him. No, he peeks one eye under the brim of his hat to glare at her, and then lowers it again. It's been creeping up on her over the last couple of days. What exactly makes her feel so compelled to help Torao? Part of it is her own life debt, she's sure. She's grateful for what he did after Marineford. Even if he waved the favor off, she wants to help him in turn. But it's more than that. There's something about him that's familiar. Something painful and old and missing. It's Ace, of course. Torao reminds her of Ace. Back when they were kids and he was angry all the time. Or even when they got a little older and sometimes he'd slip and she'd notice but not understand, not until the end. The anger and doubt and the lingering sense of worthlessness still lurking in his heart. Torao reminds her of that. She kind of doubts he's the long-lost son of an infamous pirate. But there's a similarity about him in the way he brushes off her inquiries and the heaviness in his eyes. "Hey Torao," she asks, "what's your dream?" Torao starts a bit, nearly imperceptible in his body language, but his inward reaction is so visceral she feels Sanji and Zoro, neither of them particularly adept at sensing emotions through haki, start in response. Torao sits up, glaring at Lucy full on now. "What the hell? What's your dream, Torao?" Lucy repeats. Ace always seemed to feel better when they talked about going out to sea. Maybe Torao would feel better too? It doesn't look like he's feeling better. He just stares, looking for all the world like he can't believe his life at the moment. Lucy stares back, unashamed. Torao looks away first. Unbelievable. He gathers his sword and stands, clearly off to find another. Lucy less spot to nap. Lucy stands and follows him a few feet behind. He notices of course, and immediately whirls on her, temper etching itself across his face. Geez, you'd think she offered him bread or something. People only made that mistake once. The guy throws fits. Silent, sulky fits. Sanji couldn't even kick him out of the kitchen because he hadn't eaten yet. "Leave me alone, Straw Hat Ya," he says lowly, almost warningly. It's unfortunate for him she can sense how tired he is, and how much he is really not up to a fight right now, no matter how much fun it would be. "Does it have something to do with Mingo?" Lucy asks. She's not fazed in the slightest by his temper, and frankly if he didn't get some sleep soon he wasn't going to be able to do anything on Dressrosa. Torao's whole body tenses. Lucy's a little surprised at the intensity of the reaction. Torao doesn't usually react to things outwardly. He's all internal and stuff. It's why she had such a hard time reading him when they met. "Leave it, Straw Hat Ya," Torao warns. Well, if he's that sensitive about it, it's probably not anything particularly aspirational. That's worrying. But asking about it probably won't do anything good. Alright. Torao seems to relax a little, so she plows on. "What's your favorite color, Torao?" Torao makes a noise like a very frustrated cow. Lucy observes with admiration, wondering how she'd even come close to replicating it. "That was a cool sound," Lucy says seriously. "Do it again." He does. Lucy gets the feeling he isn't doing it for her sake though. Behind her, Zoro snorts, amused. She frowns over her shoulder at him. He's relaxing with his hands behind his head as he leans against the rail, a lazy smirk on his face that broadens into a grin when he catches her looking. He looks good, damn him. "Why is this my life?" Torao mutters. Lucy turns back to him, still frowning. "Why? Just why?" "Friends know friends' favorite colors," Lucy admonishes reproachfully. "Mine's green," she offers generously. The crew members on the deck all snort, clearly listening in. Zoro is the exception. He chokes. "Wait, no it isn't, you said yellow before, Usopp objects." "It was." Lucy doesn't know how to tell them that she turned her favorite color into a flag with her now dead brothers. Green is a lot more. Well, she associates it with Zoro. "It's green now," Lucy says definitively. Up by the helm, Nami snickers. She's probably embarrassing Zoro again. Whatever, he'll probably still kiss her later. That thought almost derails her enough to go pester Zoro into making out with her. She's pretty sure it won't be too hard, but then Torao reclaims her attention. "Why does that even, you know what?" "No, I don't want to know," Torao declares. Then he stomps away, probably to try and find a better napping spot. "But what's your favorite color?" she calls, following him. "Gah, I don't have one. Stop following me, nah. Can't let you fall asleep." Lucy says blithely. Not until I'm sure you'll go to bed for real. Torao just stares in horror. You're going to follow me all day. Lucy nods. Uh-huh. Then she hesitates. Well, no, I'm going to eat eventually. And make out with Zoro, probably. And cuddle. But until then, yeah. She pats him on the shoulder, a grin on her face. That's what friends are for. We're not friends, he says desperately. Lucy thinks his voice is doing the equivalent of tearing hair out by the follicle. We're allies. Not friends. Not the same thing. Torao makes a big gesture where he crosses his arms over his chest and sweeps out. Lucy considers that for a second. Nah, we're friends. Noise comes back, this time tinged with a vague sort of terror. Man, how does he do that? I'd probably just give up, Torao, Sanji warns, looking like he's trying to smother a smile. Lucy-san looks cute, but she is very persistent. You can hide in the guy's room, Frankie offers, probably remembering his own attempts to deny her overtures of friendship if his glares at Robin are anything to go by. Kaneki never goes in there. Nami says it's inappropriate. Lucy agrees, wrinkling her nose. She still doesn't really get that. Yeah, she gets why it's a good idea to have boys and girls change separately and sleep in different rooms and not shower together, but it's just a room, right? Plus, they're all nakama. And Zoro is Zoro, so she wouldn't even mind if something happened with him in the guy's room. Hell, the hammock bunks would probably be a good place too. Fine, Torao declares, clearly frustrated. Lucy nods in sympathy. Poor guy must be tired. He's barely slept in 3 days. Sleep well, she calls as he slinks off to the boys' cabin. She can feel his agitation scraping the air, but his exhaustion too. The door shuts behind him and the whole deck breathes a sigh of relief. The grin on Lucy's face melts off as she stares at the door. Thank goodness, Kinnaman mutters. I thought he'd never sleep. I thought he'd never leave, moans Caesar. Then he glares at Lucy. Took you long enough, you stupid. Sanji kicks him in the face before he even finishes the sentence, which, honestly, that probably saved his life, if Zoro and Nami's glares are anything to go by. He's been awake almost 3 days, Chopper says forlornly. I'm surprised he hasn't passed out. He's stubborn, Brooke says quietly, contemplatively plucking one of the strings on his guitar. And he has a mission he wants to see through. At least we know what that is, now, Usopp grumbles. He mutters something that sounds suspiciously like, stupid captains, going in blind. Lucy decides to leave it alone for now. Well, we're not tripping over him anymore, Nami says distractedly, leafing through her maps. Directing him to the boys' bedroom was a good idea, Frankie. Lucy says nothing, she just frowns after the door. Torao, there's something wrong there. Something wrong inside. It reminds her of Ace, but also of Robin, that day in Eni's lobby, when she was convinced she wanted to die. I'm gonna be his friend, Lucy promises quietly to the door. That was, after all, the only thing that actually helped Ace and Robin in the end. She had to prove herself. Prove she loved Ace by crawling through a war front. Prove she was Robin's friend by burning down a flag. Retrieve katana for Zoro and a restaurant for Sanji and a flag for Chopper. Torao needs her to prove something so he'll trust her to take care of his dreams too. She just hasn't figured out what it is yet. Oi! Roronoa. Zoro's right eye cracks open, unamused. He sees a tall dark shadow and a fuzzy white hat and just barely bites back a smirk. Buzz off. Zoro shifts a little, trying to get comfortable again. Lucy snuffles into his shoulder, pinned under his arm. She's tucked in close against him, drooling on his robe, and her left hand is curled on his chest. Her right is fisted in his hamarki at the small of his back, in the space between the deck and rail. She's warm, and judging from her breathing, completely asleep. He's leaning up against Sunny's stern, Nami's mikan trees swaying before them. He's got one hand tangled in the knots of Lucy's skirt, his fingers brushing against denim and soft skin in turn. His right hand rests easily by his hip, his katana laid out a few inches away. It's warm. Lucy is warm, and Zoro would much rather be sleeping than speaking with Trafalgar right now. She's not awake, right? The irascible captain asks pointedly. Zoro glares, baleful. I was asleep too, a second ago, he grouses. Yeah, later. First tell me what the hell is wrong with you crew. Zoro just barely keeps his face neutral, fighting back a laugh. What do you mean? You people won't leave me the fuck alone, he accuses. Dark eyes slide to Lucy's deceptively innocent form. Zoro is deeply amused to see Trafalgar twitch. Actually fucking twitch. Keeping a straight face is next to impossible. She's the worst of him, but I haven't had a moment to myself in 2 days. Zoro raises an eyebrow and leans back into the stern. The horror. I can't imagine what it's like to be you, Toro. I know you know my name. At that, Zoro barely, just barely, manages to keep from bellowing in a full-bodied guffaw. What's your point, Toro? Trafalgar glares, his gaze venomous. Zoro's so unintimidated his hand doesn't even twitch toward his katana. It's kind of like being glared at by a wet cat. One just can't see the guy as intimidating after one's seen him throw a fit about fucking bread. Why? Trafalgar deadpans. Why are you like this? Why are you all like this? Zoro looks over the grumpy, slightly frazzled captain, looking vaguely disheveled, and figures the quickest way back to nap time is to just get this over with. You targeted Lucy. The captain just stares. What? You targeted her? Back on Punk Hazard. The crew's hazing you. Dunno what you expected. Which, of course, is perfectly true. Nami keeps practicing with her clean attack, and accidentally striking about 2 inches away from Trafalgar anytime he spends too much time glaring. Which is always, generally. He's also pretty sure she's run up a staggering debt on him over the last few days. Robin has taken to sitting next to him while he was trying to relax on deck and detailing the many ways in which one could kill someone with a spoon. Sans powers of the op fruit, which included a graphic description of eyeball removal. Usopp claimed to see Trafalgar staring at Robin's breasts, which led to Sanji challenging him to a duel every 5 minutes, which were invariably geared to favor the cook because Nami said she'd find him every time Trafalgar destroyed anything on the ship. Frankie built a robot dog that actively chases him, and occasionally bites him, if he lets his guard down long enough, and anytime the guy isn't occupied by one of the others, he's been treated to Brook screeching out highly irritating music on his guitar. Huh. Well, maybe the guy had a point. They had terrorized him pretty thoroughly over the last few days. It couldn't be helped. They couldn't haze him the first 3 days of their trip because Trafalgar hadn't slept since Punk Hazard, presumably, but now that he's actually rested some, it's open season. Well, open season except for meals, the interruption of which Sanji wouldn't stand for, and when he was actually, genuinely asleep. Dude still looked like he hadn't seen a bed in 3 years, and the Straw Hats aren't heartless. They are protective though. More so now than they were before. Some suspicious newcomer shows up explicitly stating his intention to take advantage of Lucy, and Lucy lets him on board. Zoro really would have been surprised by any reaction less dramatic. I didn't target her, you guys showed up on Punk Hazard and it was convenient. Trafalgar bemoans. Zoro nearly pities him for his innocence lost. Lucy is anything but an expedient means to an end, unless that end is the devouring of raw meat. Doesn't matter. Especially now that they were forcing him into a regular sleep schedule, taking their cues from Lucy's new habit of showing up when Trafalgar shows even the slightest sign of falling into a nap on deck. Insomnia wasn't going to be tolerated by them, and apparently their solution was to exhaust him into a proper night's rest. Sanji has taken to drugging Trafalgar's tea with a mild sedative during their late-night snacks. Zoro's pretty sure he hasn't noticed yet. Lucy's decided you're friends, so they're warning you not to screw her over. I'm not planning to, Trafalgar says tiredly. I would have thrown myself off the ship by now if I had another option. A pause. And we're not friends. Zoro hums. Good to know. Thanks. Trafalgar pinches the bridge of his nose, frowning tiredly. Would you? Zoro refrains from snorting, and goes back to glaring. If you were going to ask for favors, you shouldn't have woken me up, dumbass. He probably will tell the crew to lighten up though. Trafalgar looks close to throwing himself overboard, regardless of options, and that would probably make Lucy sad. No one wanted Lucy sad. Fucking Caesar probably didn't want Lucy sad. No choice, Trafalgar grumbles. You're the only one who hasn't attempted assault of some kind. Trafalgar's gaze sharpens on the arm he has around Lucy, still snoring softly, completely undisturbed by the conversation. Why is that, by the way? I thought you'd be the worst of him. Zoro rolls his eyes. Lucy trusts you, so I will too. Doesn't mean he won't gut the guy if he betrays her, but he's willing to trust Lucy's record on this one. Then he frowns as a realization happens upon him. He can't be the only one who hasn't bothered Trafalgar because, Chopper. Trafalgar stiffens. I just finished my 3rd physical in 2 days. Zoro gives him an incredulous look. Trafalgar just looks deeply uncomfortable. He was thorough and hard to say no to. Zoro stares as he registers exactly what that means. Then he snickers. Then he chuckles. Then he's laughing outright, so hard Lucy squirms against him and makes a sleepy noise of protest as her pillow shakes uncontrollably and tears bead in his eyes. Fucking asshole, Trafalgar growls, embarrassed. I'd like to see you say no to that guy. Zoro just laughs helplessly until Trafalgar stomps away, the red strip of his neck just visible under the hood. Zoro just considers how ironic it is that the formidable Shichibukai was brought low by a fluffy reindeer with big eyes. Fuck, Lucy sure did know how to pick her friends. Law will fit in well around here. There are a few things in life Zoro finds more satisfying and pleasurable than all the rest. Booze, for one, with sake being his favorite liquor. A good fight, especially if there's bloodshed and he learns something. Sliding home another weight on his barbells. Kissing Lucy has rapidly flown to the top of Zoro's list though. Way to the top. So much so that it's like its own list entirely. Technically, he's supposed to be on watch tonight. But he was conducting his watch from the observation deck, intending to work out, and then Lucy showed up with the shadows of a nightmare clinging to her eyes, and now here they are. With Lucy straddling his waist and hovering over him, his fingers tangled in her hair, dragging her close as he fuses his lips to hers. She's warm beneath his hands and squirming above him, warm and enthusiastic, and Zoro has never wanted anything the way he wants her. Maybe, he needs her. Lucy's mouth parts against his eagerly, and he takes her lower lip sharply between his teeth. A small, breathless noise catches in the back of Lucy's throat, and he would bottle that sound if he could. Lucy's hands are settled on his shoulders, her nails digging into flesh, and it's amazing how he just doesn't mind at all that she's gripping so hard he's sure she's drawing blood. The position leaves her whole torso open for exploration, and Lucy's loose-fitting sleep shirt gaps across her stomach as Zoro's hand trails over her ribs, her hips, grazes the line of her cotton shorts as his fingers slide across the flat expanse of her stomach. Lucy shivers and pulls back a little, perched above his hips. Her face is flushed pink and her eyes are bright, and she's biting her lip through a smile. He sits up, leaning on one elbow while keeping one hand curled around her waist. Not touching her always feels like a missed opportunity. Lucy raises one hand to his hairline, trailing her fingers across it. The look in her eye is suddenly incredibly fond. Zoro doesn't know why she seems to have such a fixation on his hair, but if the reward for letting her play with it is that reaction, he's more than alright with it. Lucy grins a little, a quirk of mischief in the corner of her mouth. You're good at fighting nightmares. He blinks, not quite following, then remembers their conversation from right before she tackled him. Nightmares are easier when you have someone to fight them with, she said. Then he took her hand and, yup. That's how they ended up on the floor. He pushes himself up using his elbow, and Lucy falls back in his lap a little as he does. She squeaks in surprise, and then her arms are around his neck in an instinctive bid for stability. Zoro smirks, his own hands settling firmly on her waist, locking her against him. Surprising Lucy usually beget great consequences. She leans back a little, lower lip jutting out in a pout. Zoro's smirk softens to a probably dopey smile, and he leans his forehead against hers. Lucy melts into him immediately, relaxed and loose and calm. It's a far cry from the way she was when she came here, and Zoro slides his thumbs across her ribs, feeling the slight ridges and crevices of muscle and bone beneath her shirt. He can feel the heat beneath his hands, and he can't stop himself from wondering what would happen if he took this a step farther, if he slid his fingers under the hem of her shirt. And, like she's reading his fucking mind, Lucy hums and asks, Zoro, why haven't we had sex yet? Zoro makes a choking noise not dissimilar to a strangled elephant. Lucy leans back, her weight settling a little deeper in his lap, and Zoro makes another choking noise as Lucy flicks her hair out of her face, frowning. What, do you not want to, or? What the fuck is his life right now? Yes, he grits out, emphatic. I want to. He takes a deep breath, not quite able to meet Lucy's eyes as he asks, do you? And he has to ask because she's never said, and she clearly hasn't picked up on his desire, so maybe. Lucy tilts her head to the side, clearly pondering. Since, like, I dunno. Maybe Logatown, or Alabasta. Not sure. It was a while ago. Lucy peers at him through her lashes. Your new, practically shirtless policy doesn't help. Now hold up, that's just unfair. You wear black leather all the time, he protests. It has to be said, after all, she wears black leather all the time. Lucy's lips twitch in smug satisfaction. Zoro has to resist the urge to kiss it off. Then her eyebrows furrow and she seems uncertain, her thoughts clearly taking her to a different place. So, why haven't we? There's a small, meaningful twist of her pelvis as she says this. Zoro refrains from groaning pathetically and reaches out to still her hips. Lucy pouts and holy shit, this girl is going to be the death of him. I just thought we should take it slow, he lies. You know, get used to each other. He squeezes her hip. Used to touching each other. Lucy's expression softens and then turns a little shy, suddenly, as one of her hands drifts absently to her chest, right over the scar. That's it. Zoro narrows his eyes at the tiny gesture, cataloging it to deal with later. That and birth control. It's not, exactly, true. They've gotten as much, practice as they can in over the last week and a half. But Lucy's still kind of new to this. She's surer and more creative every time they kiss, but she's still inexperienced and he doesn't want to push her too fast. Wants to savor the experiences almost as much as he wants to drag her into an empty room with a bed every time she laughs. And, hell, it's not like he's particularly experienced. He's had a few one-night stands, all before he met Lucy. He's out of practice, and he's never led the way before. He wants to enjoy it with her, not worry about hurting her or have the potential awkwardness as a barrier. And you, want me? Like I want you, I mean. Oh lord, why does she have to be so fucking blunt all the fucking? Yes, he grits out, because honestly he doesn't know what he fucking expected. But Lucy seems satisfied with his answer, and tilts her head to the side. Chopper said it'd take 2 weeks to kick in. That's, Lucy frowns. Free hair on the back of Zoro's neck stands up, and his hands tighten around her hips. And then, Lucy's not exactly a master of seduction, but she looks at Zoro with a stunningly carefree smile on her face and her thighs clamp around his waist, and she says, do you think we'll be used to touching each other by then? Holy Mother of God. We don't, he grunts, trying to control himself. It takes effort. We don't have to do anything by a certain time, you know? He pointedly mouths the soft spot behind her ear he only discovered tonight. The better you know someone, the better it generally is. Lucy shivers delicately. Especially when neither of us, have a lot of experience. Lucy hums, sounding a little dejected. So, that's a no then, or? He growls and he can feel the way her pulse jumps beneath his lips. Does it look like I'm saying no? But there's not a timetable. We can do whatever the fuck we want, when we want. Lucy leans back in his lap, a pout on her face. But I want you, now. The things this girl does to him are going to convince him of God's existence, one day, if only because there's no way she could be the product of anything other than a deity's perfectly designed plan to torment him. He must stare at her just a little too long because the pout starts to deepen to a frown and her lips start to form his name and he hooks one of his arms behind her back and one hand reaches up to cradle her head as he throws her down on one of the mats. She gasps in surprise as he pins her and Zoro takes advantage of it to kiss her hard and desperate. She squirms beneath him a little, but only so she can grab the collar of his shirt and drag him closer, her legs locking behind him and shit, this girl is going to kill him. In an effort to control himself but mostly because he wants to touch her, his free hand, the one that was wrapped around her back, seeks hers, and he finds it. Their fingers twine together and then he takes her hand back, presses it down into the mats by her head and she whimpers a little, her free hand roaming over his chest and tugging at his haramaki insistently. Fuck, they need to calm down. Like, now. Right the fuck now. Zoro pulls away, reluctant, but he doesn't dislodge himself entirely. He's still hovering above Lucy, just a few inches between them. Their chests brush a little as they breathe. Lucy's eyes are blown wide and eager. and her hand still twists in the fabric of his clothes. There's a flush on her cheeks and something dark and wanting in her eyes, and it takes every ounce of Zoro's willpower to keep from kissing her again when she twists her hips suggestively. But he can't keep from touching her, won't restrain himself that far. He ducks down to plant light kisses along her jaw, her throat, and when she arches into him and leaves her neck open he hums a little as he sucks bruises into her pulse point. "Want you," he whispers into her skin, and he knows she hears because she gasps at the words, high and sweet, so much. Lucy breathes his name into his ear. Her free hand roams everywhere. Seems like she's touching every part of him at once, and fuck, seriously, she's not helping. Eventually, Zoro's lips graze the cotton of Lucy's high, crewneck t-shirt, and he backs off, thwarted by the fabric. Lucy is sprawled beneath him, her hair fanning out behind her and both hands by her head. One is still pinned there by Zoro's hand, and the other is wrapped around the wrist he's been using to support himself. He shifts a little, moving his weight to both his elbows, and Lucy's hand immediately slips into his. She's beautiful like this, all disheveled and breathy, and her eyes are dark, plain with lust. It's beautiful because she's always so carefree, and Zoro likes pulling this side of her out, likes seeing her focused so intensely on him. It's heady and makes him want to do things, 1,000 ideas coursing through him on how fuel the fire inside them both. But he's not wrong, either, about waiting just a little longer. For one, they don't have protection at the moment, would have to run down to the infirmary to get some, but also, they're still new to this. Still reacquainting themselves with each other, still mapping out each other's bodies. And then there's something that's even more important than that. The fear that if they move too fast right now, they'll regret it. That they'll sleep together because they're afraid of separation again, consciously or not, and that the urge to be closer, bury her beneath his skin, is partially born of that fear. With Lucy he wants it to be more than that. Needs it to be, really. "So, the feeling's mutual?" she asks after a moment, a strange hesitance in her eyes. Zoro leans his forehead into hers, shifts a bit so the lengths of their bodies are aligned and she can feel, "What do you think?" Lucy's mouth drops open, and her flush grows darker, eyes wide. "Oh." Her tongue darts out to wet her lips. The movement is fascinating. "Thank you," Lucy tells him suddenly, and Zoro blinks, a little thrown, and then she adds with a quick grin, "for waiting on me to catch up." Affection bursts in his chest even as he leans down to kiss her. It's a soft kiss, one full of promise and mischief, and maybe a little reverence, too. "T's not just you," he growls into her neck when they part. "It's me too." He's known from the beginning that the two of them are the same this way. Neither of them are good at doing things by half measures. They believe in commitment, in pursuing what they want without hesitation or many intermediary steps at all. It's why they never needed to have a conversation about what their relationship is, or where it's going. Lucy is it for Zoro. He knows that. He's known that for years. It's maybe part of why it was so hard to admit his feelings in the first place. But in this one thing, he has to pump the brakes. He thinks they'll be better for it in the end. Beneath him, Lucy releases a soft, breathy sigh, and leans up to nuzzle into his neck just a bit. "I love you," she whispers, her voice thick with emotion. "So much." His heart jumps to his throat as he blinks into the black strands of her hair and knows he will never be used to her saying that. "Lucy, He cuts himself off, unable to continue. Lucy's nose grazes the side of his neck. "Shush, shush." She soothes. "I can hear you. Remember? I know. I know." He feels her lips quirk into a smile as her cheek lifts. "Just kiss me already." He complies.